was down and out, riddled with doubt, had nowhere to go. Everything's moving so slow, the time's moving too fast. I hope this feeling don't last. Well, I've been away from myself too long. My body is aching from all my wrongs. And now that I know I'm not that strong, I'll keep slipping onto you. I'll keep slipping until my time is through. I'll keep slipping onto you, yeah, onto you. Well, I've been away from myself too long. My body is aching from all my wrongs. And now that I know I'm not that strong, I'll keep slipping onto you. I'll keep slipping until my time is through. I'll keep slipping onto you, yeah, onto you. I was down and out, so riddled with doubt.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Whew. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
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 Thank you. Thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake is all go down. Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake is all go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride. Baby's got a shooter. Baby's got corrosion now. Corrosion now. Baby's got it.
Baby does got it. I don't, but baby does. And baby, nobody puts baby in the corner. That's from a movie. In case you didn't know that. I'm not going to tell you if you don't know, because I don't really care. But I've had the time of my life. It was Jerry Orbach. Jerry Orbach said, nobody puts baby in the corner. That's the worst Jerry Orbach impression you'll get in this lifetime. I look like man, is this Batman? What's this thing tilting for? Sorry, I had a little Batman tilt there going on. You know, the Batman. We should do that. Just do the whole show like this, you know, where I'm just like, you know, it's too much to fuck up. I built this thing fuck up proof, and now I fucked it up again. Sorry, playing around, wasting people's time. Sorry, I don't like to waste people's time. Let's say good morning to everybody. All's crickets on the Rumble, unless we got some lurkers out there. You got lurkers. Good morning to you, Rumble. Over on oh, there's Ghost Start. Fuck Jelani. Had to get off X before I got banned for spamming Syrian girls video compilation of them. Oh yeah, Jelani. And that's the so yeah, he's in Washington. Or he was. I don't know if he still is. We're gonna have a story on that. Coming up in the old news thing. Let's get you up there. Very good. Yeah, so you got Laine P over here on the YouTubes. I took last week off, but that slave driver Laine made me work the Undercurrent. You know, she's like, you be there or else you gets the hose again. And I'm like, I don't need incentive to be there. Threatening me with beatings is not a threat at all. All right, this is driving me nuts. No, I guess it's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so and don't forget Undercurrent tomorrow. Same time as this show, but I mean this show won't be on, obviously. Can't do two shows at once. Although, Laine, we could try it. We could try doing Morning Extra and the Undercurrent at the same time. I'm just like looking at different cameras. Yeah, Laine. Hey, yeah, here in other news. Anyway, I had way too much crack this morning. CBC voter, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. We got Skinny Willie Bragg. That's his blues name now, Skinny Willie Bragg, in the house, dropping weight like he's dropping names at the club bouncer, right? Max Sarjay, what's up, Max? Good to see you, buddy. We got Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show. intergalactic, another dimension, another dimension, another dimension. And of course, Miguel off the top there. Peace and love to you, brother. Hope you're doing well this November. Yes, we were off last week, so we missed some of the news there. The Mamdani guy won in New York, so he's New York mayor now, or he's going to be. I guess they swear him in January or something like that, so that gives Eric Adams a good month and a half to fuck shit up before he gets out. I do like to put the lotion on. Put her in the fucking basket. I can't believe they made a musical out of that movie. That's crazy. No chat scroll? Interesting. No, there is no chat scroll. I don't know. Oh, it's some weird shit going on. It's there, but it's not there. Don't worry about it. I'll have it fixed by next time. Something happened on the way to heaven. I think that was a Phil Collins song. I'm dropping weight for the 4th or 5th time in my 56 years of living. Yeah, Ghost Rider, it's a little weird. Normally it scrolls across, but now it's been doing this fading thing. The guy who created the app for that, the little plugin. I mean, he's a really smart, super guy, but I just don't pay attention when he's doing. He does updates like all the time, and when he does, it's like woof. So we'll have it fixed by next time. But thanks for pointing that out. I wouldn't have even noticed it. I would not have even noticed it. So it's there, but it just kind of when people chat. Let's see. Let's do a little something here. HOWDY. You can't spell howdy without WD. See, then it just pops up in the middle there. I guess that's about as good as we're gonna get for today. So fuck it. Yeah, so we got a lot of stuff to get to, but also we got some money making shit to do. Please, for the love of crayons, give daddy some money. It's Desperation Blend Extra Dark Roast Ground Coffee, folks. You know that old children's tale from the sea. Wait a minute, what the hell's? I got lights out everywhere. Ah, my Jesus. I think this place is haunted. Whee! Okay. Sorry to fuck up the sponsor. Weather is cold outside. It's 33 degrees here in Chicago, which is just, it's not cold for Chicago standards, but it's cold. If you like freezing weather. And what better way to warm up in the morning than the delicious taste of hot road tar and the tears of children. The dark roast means a dark roast, but it also belies an ancient evil stirring in the shadows, waiting to pounce and devour your soul. Is money driving you batshit crazy? Are you searching for a coffee so terrible that you'd prefer actual batshit instead? Well, then grab a bag of desperation. It's Desperation Blend Extra Dark Roast Ground Coffee, found online and in Mike Johnson's secret stash of Lindsey Graham porn from the 1970s. And remember, promo code GRIFTER to pay an additional 20%. You know the thing. Kofefi. 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 Yeah, exactly, Ghost Start. Hope you guys are doing well today. I'm a little out of practice. I haven't done a show since last week. But we got a lot of news to get to, so might as well. Ain't nothing to it but to do it right. There we go. So, government shutdown is almost over. U.S. House returns to Washington for vote to end the government shutdown. And we'll talk about the Senate here and the fuckery that happened there in just a moment. Members of the House of Representatives returned to Washington yesterday, or today actually, braving the nation's tangled airports for a vote that could bring the longest U.S. government shutdown in history to a close. With thousands of flights canceled in recent days due to the shutdown, some lawmakers opted for other modes of transportation to the Capitol. Republican Representative Derek Van Orden said he was making the 16-hour drive from his Wisconsin district because air travel was too unreliable. What? You don't like getting your junk patted down? Come on, guy. It's going to be a little chilly, but I will do my duty. I'm getting back to DC. We're going to get this country back on track, he said in a video posted to social media. Yeah, good luck there, Bob. The Republican-controlled House is due to vote tomorrow afternoon on a compromise that would restore funding to government agencies and end a shutdown that started October 1st. The Republican-controlled Senate approved the deal Monday night, and House Speaker Mike Johnson has said he expects it to pass his chamber as well. Mystery, good morning, dear. How are you? I hope you're nice and toasty warm wherever you're at, unless it's like 90 degrees or whatever. Then I hope you have an air conditioner that's somewhat functional. Trumpy called the deal very good and is expected to sign it into law. Within days, the U.S. government could be fully functional again, bringing relief to federal workers who have missed paychecks and low-income families who depend on food subsidies. However, it could take several days for the nation's air travel system to return to normal. Not that it was quite normal before. The deal has divided Democrats who sought to extend health care subsidies for 24 million Americans past the end of the year when they are due to expire. Senate Republicans have agreed to hold a separate vote on those subsidies in December, but there is no guarantee it will pass the chamber, and Johnson has yet to say whether the House will even hold a vote. Johnson kept the House out of session for the entirety of the shutdown in a bid to pressure Senate Democrats to reopen the government. Playing bullshit games. You play bullshit games, you get bullshit prizes. Well, except for them. They get everything. We get the bullshit prizes. The Democratic Party's liberal base has reacted with fury, arguing that Senate Democrats had capitulated in a fight they were winning. Okay. A late October Reuters Ipsos poll found that 50% of Americans blamed Republicans for the shutdown, while 43% blamed Democrats. The deal would extend funding through January 30th, leaving the federal government for now on a path to keep adding about to its $38 trillion in debt, which really doesn't matter. Oh, you're freezing? You guys stay warm, guys. Think warm thoughts. Trump has unilaterally canceled billions of dollars in spending and trimmed federal payrolls by hundreds of thousands of workers, intruding on Congress's constitutional authority over fiscal matters. The deal does not appear to include any specific guardrails to prevent Trump from enacting further spending cuts. However, it would stall his campaign to downsize the federal workforce, prohibiting him from firing employees until January 30th. The deal would also ensure that the SNAP food aid program for the poor, which has been disrupted by the shutdown, would continue uninterrupted until September 30th, 2026, the end of this upcoming fiscal year the fiscal year that we're in right now. I always confuse fiscal with physical. Let's get physical. Hey, Zell, what's going on? Good to see you. Happy hey, y'all. You got your little small space heater? Okay. You should get those things that you break. They look like little gel packs, and you break them and then they get real hot. Nice. Put them in your gloves, or put them in your shoes, put them in your nether region. Shut it. You shut it, lad. Meanwhile, This is on the other show. I have the trombone music, but cue the womp, 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 womp. Look at these crackers. Absolutely pathetic Senate Democrats denounced for caving to GOP in shutdown fight. Fury on the progressive left and among lawmakers who oppose such capitulation to the Republican Party erupted overnight after a handful of Senate Democrats joined with their GOP counterparts in a procedural vote on Sunday night to end the government shutdown without gaining any meaningful concessions. Just a reminder, with these procedural votes like this, you need 60 votes to get it passed, right? And I think the Republicans only have 52 senators. They have a majority, but they don't have the 60 votes. So they needed these 8 Democrats to go across the aisle and join the fuckery, which they did. Congratulations. Fuckery for everybody. What happened? Okay. Yeah, no concessions. With the support of 8 members of the Democratic caucus, Senators Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada, Dick Durbin from right here in Illinois, John Fetterman, a.k.a. Lurch of Pennsylvania, Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, although her last name is Hassan, she's a white lady, Tim Kaine of Virginia, Anus King of Maine, Jackie Rosen of Nevada, and Jean Shaheen, the dancing machine of New Hampshire. Hassan and Hasheen live at the Civic Center. Republicans in the upper chamber secured the necessary 60 votes needed to pass a cloture vote. I told you I hadn't been talking in a week. That paves the way for a deal critics warn does nothing to save Americans from soaring healthcare premiums unleashed due to the GOP spending bill passed earlier this year and signed into law by Trumpy. Yeah, so they were talking about these premiums, for the ACA, right? And although the ACA, some people will say, yeah, it has helped. Overall, it really hasn't helped the whole population. That's why we need a Medicare for all. But you know, bootstraps, you know the thing. Let's see, where are we? I forgot how to read. It's thoroughly disappointing that while most Americans overwhelmingly oppose Republicans' horrific budget, support the fight to curtail Trump's authoritarianism, and want to protect health care, some Democrats failed to hold the line and squandered an opportunity to score a popular and decisive win for the American people, said Lisa Gilbert, co-director of the progressive watchdog group Public Citizen. You're considering putting heat tape beneath your couch cushions? That's awesome. So the deal will combine 3 separate funding measures into a single stopgap. You know what I need? This is what I need. Desperation blend. I'll be shitting my pants soon. But don't worry, that was the plan all along. The deal will combine 3 separate funding measures into a single stopgap bill that will reopen the government and keep it funded through the end of January 2026, but contains no restoration of Medicaid funding, fails to curb Trump rescissions that have devastated government agencies and programs, and does nothing to address Affordable Care Act subsidies other than a meaningless promised vote to extend them within 40 days, a vote nearly sure to fail in the Senate and likely not even taken up in the House, controlled by Republicans. What is this? What the election shows is that the American people want us to stand up to Trumpism, to his war against working people, to his authoritarianism. That is what people wanted, but tonight, that's not what happened. Vote Quimby. How absolutely pathetic, declared the Justice Democrats. If anybody should know about being pathetic, it's the Justice Democrats, an advocacy group that focuses on assisting progressive challengers willing to take on more establishment lawmakers in office. Your voters expect you to hold the line for their basic health care and food benefits. This is just surrender. Every Senate Democrat that joined Republicans to pass this sold the American people out, and we should make sure they have no future in public office. Now, Fetterman seems like he's the new Kristen Sinema, right? Voted in as a Democrat, does a lot of this middle of the road shit, and ends up, and now he's starting to become, pretty right wing, if he wasn't already. Let's be clear, this proposal isn't a compromise, it's a capitulation, said Representative Jonathan L. Jackson, Democrat from here in Illinois. Millions would lose their health coverage and millions more would face skyrocketing premiums. The Senate should reject this misguided plan. In the House, my vote will be hell no. I don't think you could say hell no. I think they'll censor you or something like that. Censure? So the original Democratic demands were permanent ACA subsidies. They should just get rid of the ACA and just expand Medicare. Medicaid funding restored. No more blank checks for the regime. They dropped Medicaid immediately. They went silent on rescission, cut back to 1 year of subsidies on Friday, and surrendered today. For Gilbert, the shutdown exhibited exactly how far Republicans will go to demonstrate subservience to their authoritarian leader, even at the expense of the most basic needs of ordinary Americans. Republicans have destroyed affordable health care access for millions of Americans and have allowed the president to weaponize hunger against millions more of our vulnerable people, all so that they can bully through a budget that's capitulating us towards a dystopian future of stark inequality. Towards a dystopian future. Gilby, are you new to planet Earth? Is this one of your buddies, Chuck, from outer space that's never been here? It's just saying that we're heading towards a dystopian future of stark inequality? And my boy got jokes. While the shutdown may come to an end this week, Gilbert said it remains imperative that everyone who cares about the well-being of Americans to use all the leverage they have to push back on Trumpy's authoritarianism and his cannibalizing of the basic needs of Americans for the benefit of his corporate donors and billionaire friends. As yours as well. Bernie Sanders, who, like Senator King of Maine, caucuses with the Democrats, called it a very bad night as he condemned the 8 members of the caucus for making a very, very bad vote at a time when the political winds and the moral argument were clearly on the side of holding the line. I don't think maybe the political wins were, but when you poll people, they especially people who are on Snap, they were probably like, you know what, you guys should quit fucking around and give us our shit back. Oh, you don't acknowledge Gilbert? Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Heading towards, like, dude, we passed the now entering sign like years ago. What it does, first of all, Sanders said in a statement following the vote, is it raises healthcare premiums for over 20 million Americans by doubling and in some cases tripling or quadrupling. People can't afford that when we are already paying the highest prices in the world for healthcare. Should have asked your good friend Joe about that too. Number 2, it paves the way for 15 million people to be thrown off of Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act, citing a statistic that indicates over 50,000 people will die unnecessarily each year due to a lack of adequate health care coverage. See, they were making that same damn argument before the ACA, and then they did the ACA, and they didn't do a public option, and then they said now it's mandated, so you have to get health insurance or you get fined, which was the dumbest shit. I think that was probably the dumbest shit Obama did. It's like, dude, if they could afford a fine, they could afford the insurance. Probably not anymore though. Yep, 1% has 31% of our wealth. Longtime listener, what's up? Over on the Rumbly Tumblies, Heinous King. I know his name's Angus. I said Anus up first because he's an asshole. He's an asshole. All of that was done. Sanders kept bullshitting to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1%. I mean, yeah, broken clock, sure. I mean, he's going to say shit that's right, but then he's going to, my friend Joe, we must save Israel. Hey, Fred. In a political context, Sanders noted that last week's electoral wins in numerous races across the country showed that voters are in the mood to reward lawmakers who stand up to President Donald Trump and his allies in Congress rather than give in to them. Voters. Like they got any control over they're so cute when they're little. What the election showed is that the American people want us to stand up to Trumpism, to his war against working people, to his authoritarianism. He said that is what people wanted, but tonight that is not what's happening. There's some bullshit tweet by Crystal Ball. Democrats in the House who had backed their Democratic colleagues for holding the line over 40 days in the Senate fumed over the failure to keep going. Americans have endured the pain of the longest government shutdown in history for a deal, in air quotes, that guarantees nothing on health care, said Representative Summer Lee. Makes me feel fine. Summer Lee. If Republicans wanted to vote to extend subsidies, they would have done it already. Capitulating is unacceptable. And then some dumb shit from Mark Pocan. Senator Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, voted no on the deal. Still, it's widely understood he was driving the force behind putting the agreement together and privately supporting the late lawmakers, none of whom are facing re-election in 2026 to cross over. See how that works? There you go. You're like, why did these guys do it? Because none of them are facing re-election next year. It's all a game, folks. It's all a fucking game. Schumer voting no for a shutdown deal he facilitated every step of the way, noted journalist Ken Klippenstein, human fish head, just trying to keep his hands clean. Don't fall for it. Ken does some good work, but sometimes Ken can be a little shitty. In the wake of the vote, others called for Schumer to resign or be primaried for capitulating to deliver practically nothing. Well, then you guys should resign too, because you don't deliver shit either. The surrender by Democrats in the Senate, facilitated by Schumer, opined journalist Crystal Ball, perfectly encapsulates why centrists are the problem for the party both substantively and electorally. After romping nationwide victories, the worst members of the Democratic caucus decided to abandon the healthcare fight, which hurts Americans and demobilizes their own base. Their own base? Who is the Democrats' base at this point? That's what I want to know. I mean, you pretty much know who the Republican base are. I would say half of them are MAGA, and the other half are conservatives that are too scared of Trump to say anything, so they just go along. But who's the Democratic base at this point? It ain't lefties. Maybe shit libs. Maybe corporate liberals, if that's even corporate liberals, yeah, I could see that. Corporate lefties, though, that's an oxymoron. So I guess Snap's going to be coming back, but the state, but in the meantime, the Snap payments haven't gone out. Here we are on Veterans Day, and happy Veterans Day to our veterans. The real ones, the ones that I feel sorry for, that they need the help out there, that are homeless, that are starving, they need work, they just need help in general. Got sold a bill of goods, told they were serving their country in the military, and then when they get in there, it's a totally different thing. And that's not for me. I've never been in the military, but I've seen videos of actual soldiers who talk about their stories about getting enlisted and all the lies and bullshit that they were told, and then when they got in the military, they're like, oh, this is nothing like you said. And a lot of them rely on SNAP payments, right? So what some of these states have been doing, the ones with a little bit of bank, have been filling the void, trying to make, fill the coffers for SNAP recipients in their own states. Well, Trumpy is not a fan of that. Trump administration threatens to penalize states that don't undo full SNAP payments. So Trump's ag secretary on Saturday threatened to penalize states that don't immediately undo steps taken to pay out full supplemental SNAP benefits for November, following a Supreme Court order that temporarily allowed the administration to withhold billions of dollars of aid. In a memo, the U.S. Department of Agriculture warned that failure to comply with the administration's directive may result in USDA taking various actions, including cancellation of the federal share of state administrative costs and holding states liable for any overissuances that result from the non-compliance. Wow. Representative Angie Craig, Democrat out of Minnesota, the top Democrat on the House Agriculture Committee, said in a statement that it appears the Trump administration is demanding that food assistance be taken away from the households that have already received it. They would rather go door to door taking away people's food than do the right thing and fully fund SNAP for November so that struggling veterans, seniors, and children can keep food on the table, said Craig. The USDA memo came after Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson temporarily blocked a lower court ruling that had required the Trump administration to distribute SNAP funds in full amid the ongoing government shutdown. SNAP is funded by the federal government and administered by the states. I'm trying to remember who Ketanji Brown Jackson was. Was that a Biden pick? Did Biden pick her? Didn't she replace somebody? I can't remember who she replaced. Anyway. But the administration took steps to comply with the district court order while also appealing it, sparking widespread confusion. Some states, including Massachusetts and California, moved quickly to distribute full benefits late last week. Some reported waking up Friday with full benefits in their accounts. In the dead of night, the Trump administration ordered states to stop issuing SNAP benefits. Senator Patty Murray out of Washington said in response to the Saturday USDA memo, this president will stop at nothing to take food out of the mouths of hungry kids across America soulless. Under the Trump administration's plan to only partially fund SNAP benefits for November, the average recipient will see a 61% cut to aid, and millions will see their benefits reduced to zero, according to one analysis. Crystal Fitzsimmons, president of the Food Research and Action Center, stressed in a statement that the Trump administration all along has had both the power and the authority to ensure that SNAP benefits continued uninterrupted, but chose not to act and to actively fight against providing this essential support. Meanwhile, millions of Americans already struggling to make ends meet have been scrambling to feed their families, said Fitzsimmons. Families and states are experiencing undue stress and anxiety with confusing messages coming from the administration. The Trump administration's decision to continue to fight against providing SNAP benefits furthers the unprecedented humanitarian crisis driven by the loss of the nation's most important and effective anti-hunger program. So yeah, to sick the USDA or the agriculture secretary on your state saying, don't you be feeding these people. Don't you be feeding. How many active duty vets get EBT? Well, that's a pretty good bit. I don't know the numbers though. But what's fucked up is there's probably more people working for Walmart who need SNAP than the veterans. But, you know, I'm sure the veterans are probably a close second. Yeah, people need food, man. You don't give people food, you know what happens? Ask the French. They have these little things called guillotines. These tall wooden things, and it's got this big ass razor blade that comes down and goes zoink. Yep, that's what happens when bodies start slapping from doing the wild thing. That's a Tone Loc song. Meanwhile, air travelers face frustration as FAA's further drop in flights take effect. Yes, air travelers could face more frustration as busy U.S. airports need to meet a higher FAA target for reducing flights today after already canceling thousands to scale back demands on the nation's aviation system during the shutdown. And like that previous article said, even with the shutdown happening, once it's a done deal, it's probably going to take a little while for these airports to get back on track. 1.2 million veterans are on SNAP. Jesus Christ. Thank you for your service, huh? Motherfuckers. The FAA ordered domestic airlines last week to drop 4% of their flights at 40 major U.S. airports, saying absences and signs of stress among traffic controllers made it imperative to act in the name of public safety. After already canceling more than 7,900 flights since Friday, the goal for cutting flights is set to rise 6% today and again 10% on Friday. Hello. But it was unclear exactly how many additional flights would need to be canceled today. The average cancellation rate over the last few days already exceeded the FAA's requirement, according to aviation analytics company Cirium. The FAA also expanded its flight restrictions Monday, barring business jets and many private flights from using a dozen airports already under commercial flight limits. However, controller shortages continue to lead to flight delays, including one of about 5 hours for arrived flights Monday evening at Chicago O'Hare International Airport. That's here, where wintry weather added to staffing-related disruptions early in the day. The FAA warned that staffing at over a dozen towers and control centers could delay planes departing for Phoenix, San Diego, the New York area, and Houston, among other cities. Freezing weather in parts of the country on Tuesday could further delays and cancellations. The Senate passed legislation Monday to reopen the government, but the bill still needs to clear the House, and final passage could be days away. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy made clear last week that flight cuts will remain until the FAA sees staffing levels stabilize at its air traffic control facilities. Because they are not getting paid, and some of these people were doing like they did last time. We're like, I can't make it in today, boss. I'm allergic to not getting paid. Many planes also aren't where they're supposed to be, which could slow the airlines. Wait, what? Many planes aren't also where they're supposed to be. Blinks in what? Which could slow the airlines' return to normal operations even after the FAA lifts the order, said Mike Taylor, who leads research on airports and airlines at J.D. Power. What, no J.D. Power and Associates? Todd Walker said he missed his mom's 80th birthday when his flight was canceled over the weekend. You son of a bitch. FAA, how dare you? All of this has real negative consequences for millions of Americans, and it's 100% unnecessary and avoidable, he said. The FAA has come under criticism after its original order only applied to a very small subsection of private planes, but some want to see even more done. Patriotic millionaires, a group of wealthy Americans pushing for more progressive taxes, wink, wink, is calling for all private jets to be grounded during the shutdown. Rich people are taking their joyrides while average Americans don't make it to grandma's bedside in time, said Erica Payne, its founder and president. Well, why don't you fly her there? If y'all got planes. She added that none of the members that still fly private have reported cancellation or delays since the FAA's order took effect. Tuesday marks the second missed payday for controllers. Some have started calling out of work, citing stress and the need to take on second jobs. Yeah, we was telling you about this. Some of them were doing Uber, Uber driving, food delivery, that kind of thing. It's unclear how quickly controllers might be paid once the shutdown ends. It took more than 2 months to receive full back pay after the 35-day shutdown that ended in 2019, said Nick Daniels, president of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association. Boy, they can cut you off just like that. But to get that money back to you, it's going to take like 2 months. That sounds like the bank, right? The bank could take money right out of your account just like that. Boom. You pay for something, boom, that money's gone. You want a refund or something like that? 3 to 5 business days. Bunch of bullshit. I'm just pissy today. Trumpy took to social media on Monday to pressure controllers to get back to work now. He called, they said, fuck off, Trump. He called for a $10,000 bonus for those who stayed on the job and suggested docking pay for those who haven't. There you go. Just let them all quit. Yeah, we forget about air travel. I don't air travel. I don't like that shit. It's just too much stuff. They check your junk. I mean, I do like getting a hand job, but I kind of like it from somebody I know, not somebody in a uniform. Daniel said the shutdown has made controllers demanding jobs even more stressful, leading to fatigue and increased risks. He said the numbers who are retiring or quitting is growing by the day. That's right. Leaving on a jet plane. Not today because of the shutdown. 1.2 million. Yeah. So if you're flying, Laine, I'm glad you got home okay. But some of these folks, not so much. Meanwhile, I don't know if you remember this story a while back about this broad, Kim Davis down in Kentucky. She's trying to sue to get same-sex marriage banned. Supreme Court basically told her to piss up a rope. Supreme Court rejects call to overturn its decision legalizing same-sex marriage nationwide. The Supreme Court on Monday rejected a call to overturn its landmark decision that legalized same-sex marriage nationwide. The justices, without comment, turned away an appeal from Kim Davis, the former Kentucky court clerk, who refused to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples after the High Court's 2015 ruling in Obergefell versus Hodges. Davis had been trying to get the court to overturn a lower court order for her to pay $360,000 in damages and attorney's fees to a couple denied a marriage license. Her lawyers repeatedly invoked the words of Justice Clarence Thomas. Yes, Jared, Justice Clarence. I remember during his they were talking to what's her face, the lady, and then asked about some pubic hair on a Coke can or something like that. That's a wild shit, man. Clarence Thomas is a piece of shit. Who alone among the 9 justices has called for erasing the same-sex marriage ruling. Thomas was among 4 dissenting judges in justices in 2015. Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Samuel Alito are the other dissenters who are on the court today. Roberts has been silent on the subject since he wrote a dissenting opinion in the case. Alito has continued to criticize the decision, but he said recently he was not advocating that it be overturned. Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who was not on the court in 2015, has said that there are times when the court should correct mistakes and overturn decisions. Correct mistakes, what? As it did in the 2022 case that ended a constitutional right to abortion. But Barrett has suggested recently that same-sex marriage might be in a different category than abortion because people have relied on the decision when they married and had children. Hello, goodbye. Human Rights Campaign President Kelly Robinson praised the justice's decision not to intervene. The Supreme Court made clear today that refusing to respect the constitutional rights of others does not come without consequences. Robinson said in the statement, there she is. That's Kim Davis. This lady right here. This charming person. I don't know who this is. This guy is going, I'm sorry, is your name Karen? What's your name? Oh, Kim, sorry. Davis drew national attention to eastern Kentucky's Rowan County when she turned away same-sex couples, saying her faith, and remember, she works for her local government, her faith prevented her from complying with the high court ruling. She defied court orders to issue the licenses until a federal judge jailed her for contempt of court. In September 2015, she was released after her staff issued the licenses on her behalf, but removed her name from the form. The Kentucky legislature later enacted a law removing the names of all county clerks from state marriage licenses. Davis lost a re-election bid in 2018. Oh, Kim. This is her right here. She's just like, why? Why me? There you go. You know, there's always people trying to fuck with shit, right? Hey, I can't believe that's been 10 years. I thought it was longer than that, actually. To be honest with you. Meanwhile, Trumpy gets to keep his stormtroopers in D.C. I don't know if they're stormtroopers. They're from the West Virginia National Guard. So be like, hey, man, the force is strong with this one. Ding. Lord Vader. Hey, I think there's some Jedis up there. Well, maybe we go up there. Redneck stormtroopers. Somebody's going to steal that idea. I'm going to see it on YouTube. I'm like, sons of bitches. Deployment of West Virginia National Guard members in nation's capital can continue. Judge says, sure, baby. A judge yesterday allowed the continued deployment of more than 300 West Virginia National Guard members to patrol the streets of Washington, D.C. as part of President Trump's push to send the military into Democratic-run cities. The West Virginia National Guard actually wanted to stay there because that's the best fentanyl they've ever seen. It was in Washington, D.C. The stuff in West Virginia, not so good. Kanawha County Circuit Judge Richard D. Lindsay made the ruling after hearing arguments in a lawsuit by a civic organization that argued Republican Governor Patrick Morrisey exceeded his authority when he authorized the Guard's deployment in August. The question before this court is whether or not state laws allow West Virginia to do this, Lindsay said. The court has found that. The judge added, this court believes that the federal law allows for the request made by the president to the governor. More gravy seals. Yeah, close to 25 years ago, they were all bone. I'm reminded of a lesbian law enforcement couple with children from Tampa who'd been together for close to a couple decades. One died, and man, were lives fucked. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, people trying to get married, and just getting just. I'm always of the problem. Like, look, everyone has the right to ruin their own lives. If they want to get married, go for it. You have that right. You have the right to ruin your own life with marriage. I'm not saying all marriages, but some marriages. West Virginia is among several states that sent National Guard members to the nation's capital. While the National Guard has said its deployment could last until the end of November, it's consulting with the governor's office and others on the possibility of extending the stay. Formal orders were issued last week extending the development of the District of Columbia's National Guard in the city. Deployment, in the city through the end of February. We're pleased with the judge's decision. Jace Goins, the state's chief deputy attorney general, said outside the court in Charleston, the National Guard are going nowhere. They're staying in D.C. They're not going to be redeployed to West Virginia. What if there's a hurricane that comes through and fucks up West Virginia? All your National Guard people are in D.C. and may not be able to make it back. I don't know. I don't know how close D.C. is to West Virginia, but it is just dumb shit anyway. The judge made the determination that the governor made a lawful decision deploying the National Guard to D.C. by a lawful request of the president. The West Virginia Citizen Action Group, which filed the lawsuit, argued that under state law, the governor could deploy the National Guard out of state only for certain purposes, such as responding to a natural disaster or another state's emergency request. So D.C. isn't technically a state, it's a district. So how does that work? The civic group claimed that it was harmed by the deployment by being forced to refocus its resources away from government accountability and transparency. The state attorney general's office sought to reject the case, saying the group has not been harmed and lacks standing to challenge Morrissey's decision. I'm only human and I wanted to be loved. Sorry. Little Morrissey reference. That was for you, Willie. Hey, what's up, Mikhail? Good to see you. Michael? Is it Mikhail or Michael? It's you spelled Mikhail. Anyway, I'm just going to call you Nihilo because I want to keep things simple, stupid. Good morning, everyone. Been listening, just making breakfast. What you making? What you making for breakfast? Tell us. Tell us your life secrets. It was a simple issue of a broad lawful request by the president and a lawful deployment by the governor. That's all Goins said. Aubrey Sparks, an attorney for the ACLU's West Virginia chapter. What the hell just happened there, science? We still on the air? Okay. Y'all still here? Yeah, Meal Team 6. That's the Texas boys. That boys came in fat. They're like, nah, dude. We don't need mall cops in here. Go back. I think the West Virginia law is clear, Sparks said. I think what the state was permitted to do here is to skirt past West Virginia law simply because Trump asked them to, and that's not how the law works. We remain deeply concerned about it. Trump issued an executive order in August declaring a crime emergency in the nation's capital. Well, there is a crime emergency, but it's at the White House and it's at the Capitol building. Although the Department of Justice itself says violent crime there is at a 30-year low. You know what they'll say? Well, it is now. It is now. Now you got the troops there. It's like, no, it was before that. Within a month, more than 2,300 Guard troops from 8 states and the District of Columbia were patrolling under the Army Secretary's command. Trump also deployed hundreds of federal agents to assist them. Ain't nothing better than traveling to a city, as a tourist, and there's just troops and federal agents everywhere. That just makes you feel like maybe I shouldn't be here. Separately, a federal judge heard arguments on October 24th on D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwab's request for an order that would remove National Guard members from Washington streets. U.S. District Judge Gia Cobb, an appointee of former President Sleepy Joe Biden, did not rule from the bench. So they're going to keep on keeping troops there from West Virginia. Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads. We turn our attention to across the way in North Korea. You know, North Korea has really been somewhat patient, a little bit. But nowadays, not so much. I think they're starting to get fed up like the rest of the world. As North Korea tests missile, threatens offensive action against the U.S. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Here we go, here we go, here we go again. North Korea test-fired a ballistic missile and threatened to take offensive action against the U.S. Pyongyang's fiery rhetoric comes as a U.S. carrier is set to arrive in South Korea. Uh-oh. Either or doesn't matter. I made a sandwich with sausage rounds and egg, lettuce, and peanut. Thank you for giving me a full answer to both of my questions. I'm just going to call you Bob. I'm not going to call you Bob. Unless you want me to. I'll call you Bob. On Friday, Seoul reported detecting a ballistic missile fired by North Korea. Pyongyang has conducted several weapons tests over the past month after a 5-month pause. North Korea fired multiple missiles during Trump's Asia tour. I remember that. It was the heat of the moment, telling me what our heart's been. Remember Asia? Only time will tell. One thing is sure. The Asia tour, sorry. I make too many references on this show. The U.S. is also deploying the USS George Washington aircraft carrier to the region for war games with South Korea. Pyongyang denounced the military drills. Recently, the U.S. military has become brazen in its military moves to threaten the security of the DPRK, intentionally escalating the political and military tension in the region. No Kwang-chol, Minister of National Defense of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, said on Friday, no, Kwang-chol. No. Amid the ongoing U.S.-South Korea joint air drill Freedom Flag, the appearance of the super-large nuclear carrier George Washington Task Force belonging to the U.S. 7th Fleet heralds the critical excess, further escalating the tension on the Korean peninsula. Steve Wolfbrandt in the house. What's up? Good to see you, Steve. Good morning to you, or good afternoon, depending on where you're at. We're ready to respond to everything. We will show more offensive action against the enemy's threat on the principle of ensuring security and defending peace by dint of powerful strength. While Trumpy and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un formed a positive relationship during the president's first term, the diplomatic process between Pyongyang and Washington has reached an impasse. Top North Korean officials have said that they are only willing to meet with American leaders if Washington drops the demand that Pyongyang give up its nuclear weapons. The Trump administration has refused to remove that condition. And, there's Kyle Edsel. There he is. Yeah, so as Glenn Fry said, the heat is on in Korea there. And you bring your big aircraft carrier. We'll show you our nukes. Crazy time. How's everybody doing? We doing okay? Orange whip, orange whip, orange whip, orange whip. So Trump trying to play Miami Vice, but without using the law. Again, U.S. bombs 2 more boats in the waters of Latin America. Okay. U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth announced yesterday that the U.S. military bombed 2 more boats that he claimed, without proving evidence, of course, were carrying drugs in the Eastern Pacific Ocean. The strike brings the total number of boats, the strikes bring the total number of boats the U.S. has bombed since early September to 20, including 10 that were targeted in the Caribbean and 10 that were hit in the Eastern Pacific. Well, at least they're keeping them even. Hegseth said the latest bombing killed a total of 6, quote, narco-terrorists, a term the Trump administration has used to justify extrajudicial executions for an alleged crime that doesn't receive the death penalty in the U.S. The 6 deaths brings the total number of people the U.S. military has killed at sea to 75, according to numbers released by the Trump administration. Under Trump, we are protecting the homeland and killing these cartel terrorists who wish to harm our country and its people. Hegseth got somebody to write on Twitter for him because he's obviously illiterate. Last week, Trump repeated the false claim that for each boat the U.S. military destroys, 25,000 American lives are saved. Every time a boat explodes, an angel gets its wings. He has previously claimed the strikes were targeting fentanyl, which has caused the majority of drug overdoses in the U.S., but the Pentagon has told Congress that all of the boats it has hit were allegedly smuggling cocaine through the Department of Defense, though the Department of Defense has not provided any evidence to back up its claims about what the vessels are carrying. Nah, and no one's holding them to account either. That's the fucked up part. Yeah, people complaining, well, you blowing up all these boats without proof. And it's like, well, bitch, y'all need to do something about it. The bombing campaign began targeting boats leaving Venezuela, which is not a producer of fentanyl or a transit point for fentanyl that arrives in the U.S. A report from the Washington Post cited officials from the U.S. and other countries who said the route the U.S. was targeting near Venezuela is mainly used to smuggle cocaine and marijuana to Trinidad and Tobago, and from there, cocaine is shipped to Europe and West Africa. Ooh, Venezuelan weed? Really? The bombing campaign has come under increased scrutiny due to the lack of legal authority. During a recent congressional briefing on the strikes, the Pentagon admitted it didn't know the identities of the people it had been killing. Representative Sarah Jacobs out of California, who attended the briefing, said the military campaign would still be illegal even if it were authorized by Congress. The Trump administration has also continued its military buildup in the Caribbean aimed at unseating Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The Senate has failed to assert its war powers over the president, voting down a bill last week that would have blocked Trump from launching a war with Venezuela without congressional authorization. That was Dave DeCamp over there, antiwar.com. Check them out, man. They got a good aggregation of news stories from all over. A lot of them dealing with war, but a lot of them dealing with other subjects as well. So, and they do it. They do it for us. So we appreciate it. Meanwhile, U.S. troops trained for jungle warfare in Panama for the first time in decades. The Department of Defense has begun sending conventional ground forces to Panama. Every time I see Panama, I want to sing that Van Halen song. For training in jungle warfare for the first time in more than 2 decades, ABC News reported yesterday. News of the training in Panama comes amid a major U.S. military buildup in the Caribbean and a push towards a potential war with Venezuela, a country with vast jungles. Yeah, because America does very well, apparently, in jungle countries. No, they don't, actually. No, they don't. A U.S. military official told ABC that the training in Panama is not intended to prepare troops for a potential mission in Venezuela, but Trump has reportedly been reviewing options for attacking the country. While the U.S. hasn't sent enough forces to the Caribbean for a full-scale invasion of Venezuela, U.S. military planners reportedly do believe it has a sufficient force to seize strategic ports and airfields in Venezuela. According to a report from the New York Times, one of the options presented to Trumpy would involve sending troops to capture airfields or oil infrastructure inside the country. The ABC report said that U.S. soldiers and Marines are participating in a 3-week training course once called Green Hell. I smoked some weed called that, man. It was fucked up, dude. Due to the similarities to combat in Vietnam at the base Aeronaval Cristobal Colon, formerly known as Fort Sherman. The jungle training course at the base was shuttered in 1999 when the U.S. pulled troops out of the country as part of a deal to cede control of the Panama Canal to the Panamanian government. Earlier this year, President Trump was calling for the U.S. to retake the Panama Canal, which led to the U.S. signing a deal with Panama that allows U.S. troop deployments to bases along the canal for training and military exercises. Wink, wink. Proponents of a regime change war with Venezuela to oust Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro point to the 1989 U.S. invasion of Panama that led to the arrest of Panamanian leader and former CIA asset Manuel Noriega. But a major difference between a potential invasion of Venezuela and the U.S. invasion that ousted Noriega is the fact that the U.S. had a long-established military presence in Panama at the time. Maduro has vowed that Venezuela is ready to fight if the U.S. attacks, and Russia has recently delivered air defenses to the country and is considering further support. At 2? So the U.S. has been sending weapons to Ukraine to fight Russia. So now Russia's going to send, it's another proxy war. It's going to be another proxy war. And so Russia's going to send Venezuela guns and weapons to fight the Americans. Wow. The Venezuelan leader also says that a pro-government militia that has millions of members is also ready to take up arms against any invading force. And I don't see why he would lie about them having millions of members. I mean, unless he doesn't understand that the CIA knows everything about everybody. Peace, Dove! Thank you. There it is. Dun, 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 dun. Panama. Dun, 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 dun. Panama. Oh, Panama. Sorry. What happened? So, all hell's breaking loose all over the place. You know, the people who are the preppers, they're like, well, we're gonna be right. First off, do yourself a favor. Don't ever tell anybody that you're a prepper. Okay? Especially people that aren't preppers. Because once the shit hits the fan, they're gonna know where the food is. You know where the food is? At the prepper's place. And they're gonna come to your house and they're like, hey buddy, heard you had some goodies in here, some snacks for the kids. Yeah, don't tell people you're a prepper. Just the more you know. I wish I had that thing here. So training down in Panama, how about that? Meanwhile, in Ecuador, the riot in prison there kills 31 amid gunfire and explosions. All hell breaking loose down there. A riot in a prison in southern Ecuador has killed at least 31 inmates, according to prison authorities. In a statement released on Sunday, Ecuador's SNAI prison authority said 27 of those found dead at the Machala prison in El Oro province had been hanged. A further 4 died amid an armed riot that also left 33 inmates and 1 police officer injured. The violence, during which residents reported hearing gunfire, explosions, and cries for help, came less than 2 months after 14 inmates died at the same facility in what authorities described as a dispute between gangs. Authorities said they were still working to fully clarify the facts, and forensic medical personnel were on site to verify information. The conditions of the injured were not immediately clear. The deadly day at Machalo's prison, which began at about 3 a.m. local time, marks the latest spasm of prison unrest in the South American country. Elite police teams entered the prison immediately and regained control after the riot broke out, said the SNAI authority. It did not specify the identities of the deceased or confirm whether the violence was another case of inter-gang fighting. The riot is believed to have broken out amid the start of an operation to move some inmates into a new maximum security prison built by President Daniel Noboa's government in another province that is due to be inaugurated this month. Ecuador's prisons are among the deadliest in Latin America, as overcrowding, corruption, and weak control by the authorities have allowed gangs connected to drug traffickers in Colombia and Mexico to proliferate. At the end of September, an armed confrontation at the prison in Machala left 14 inmates and a prison official dead. Days later, another 17 people were killed in a prison riot in the northern city of Esmeraldas, near the border with Colombia. Noboa's administration, which has pledged to take a tough stance on crime, blames the violence on rival gangs battling for dominance and territorial control. More than 500 people have died in prison riots since 2021. Last year, a series of coordinated riots across multiple prisons led to 150 prison guards being taken hostage. So when I see stuff like they're going to take a tough stance on crime, any politician that I ever heard say that they're going to take a tough stance on crime and then they get elected and then the crime gets worse. So I don't know if they know what that phrase tough stance means. They probably don't. I mean, probably don't, right? Hang on a second here. Just want to make sure this is the right one. Okay. Okay. Yeah, all right. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, Bella, 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 Bella. I'm checking my preps right now. Bourbon, barbiturates. They're all prepped. Bella's got the booze and pills. If we hitting your place after we hit the food. Oh, you got gummies, cannabis drinks in all flavors. Yeah, there you go. That's how I'm riding out the apocalypse. I'm going to be high as a mofo. All right. Meanwhile, in India's Modi vows not to spare those behind the Delhi car blast. Indian police are investigating a deadly car blast in the capital under a law used to fight terrorism. Where have we heard that before? An officer said on Tuesday, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi vowed to bring to justice all those responsible. The explosion near the historic Red Fort on Monday evening killed at least 8 people and injured 20. It was the first such blast in the heavily guarded city of more than 30 million since 2011. Today, I have come to Bhutan with a very heavy heart, Modi said in Thimphu, the capital of the neighboring Himalayan nation, as he arrived on Tuesday for a scheduled visit. The horrific incident that happened in Delhi last evening has deeply disturbed everyone, Modi told a public meeting. Our agencies will get to the very bottom of this conspiracy. The conspirators behind this will not be spared. All those responsible will be brought to justice. Deputy Commissioner of Police Raja Bantia said Delhi police had registered a case under the anti-terrorism law as well as Explosives Act and other criminal laws. The law, called the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, or OAPA, is India's main anti-terrorism law. It's used to investigate and prosecute acts related to terrorism and activities that threaten the sovereignty and integrity of the country. Investigation is at a preliminary stage, and any comment on it will be too premature, Bantia told reporters. Near the site of the blast in the city's old quarters, a busy market and tourist area, most shops that shut down after the explosion were yet to open in the early hours of today. Forensics experts were seen scouring the site of the blast, which has been sealed since Monday night and enclosed in white cloth barriers. Delhi Metro said the Red Fort station had been shut for security reasons. So this is where the blast was. He's once one of the victims, I'm assuming. Police said a slow-moving car which stopped at a traffic signal exploded just before 7 p.m. local time. Nearby vehicles were also badly damaged. The explosion left behind mangled bodies and the wreckage of several cars on a congested street near a metro station in the old quarter of Delhi. There was no immediate information on the occupants of the car, who were presumed to have been killed. Police said they were tracing the owner of the car. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh said agencies were carrying out a swift, thorough investigation with the findings to be made public soon. Relatives of the victims gathered outside the nearby Lok Nayak Hospital to identify the bodies of their loved ones. We at least know that my cousin is here, whether he is injured or not, or to the extent of his injury, we don't know anything, said a distressed relative who did not want to be named. The Red Fort, popularly known as Lal Kila, is a sprawling 17th century Mughal era edifice melding Persian and Indian architectural styles, thronged by tourists year-round. The Prime Minister also addressed the nation from the fort's ramparts every year on August 15th, India's Independence Day. Modi is in Bhutan for the 70th birthday celebrations of its fourth king, Jigme Singye Wangchuk. In April, Modi cut short a visit to Saudi Arabia and returned home after 26 men were killed in an attack on Hindu tourists in the Jammu and Kashmir territory. New Delhi blamed the attack on what it called Islamist terrorists backed by Pakistan, a charge denied by Islamabad. Agents provocateur, maybe? The crisis led to the worst military conflict between the nuclear-armed rivals in decades before they agreed to a ceasefire after 4 days. Sad to see that. Yeah. And you're starting to see that more and more places. You're starting to see more suicide bombers. You're starting to see all these, everything blowing up. Oh, wait a minute. Whose birthday? Bella, it's your birthday? Da-na-na-na-na-na. It's your birthday. Da-na-na-na-na-na. It was my birthday too, yeah. I never understood that song. It's like, it's not your birthday too. Why are you stealing the thunder of the person with the birthday? Thank you. Happy birthday, Bella. I hope you have a wonderful day today. I'm glad you're sharing part of your birthday with us today. That's very sweet of you. You could be out drinking whiskey and getting prostitutes. But no, you're here, and that's all that matters. Meanwhile, Afghanistan and Pakistan have their own problems as Taliban rejects unreasonable Pakistani demand for security guarantees. Afghanistan's Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi announced on November 10th, which was yesterday, that recent negotiations with Pakistan collapsed after Islamabad made what he called unreasonable demands, including a request that Kabul guarantee security inside Pakistan. Speaking at the graduation ceremony of the Foreign Ministry's Diplomacy Institute, Muttaqi revealed that the Pakistani representatives made demands during the negotiations that were neither practical nor reasonable. One of their demands was, give us a guarantee that there will be no more security incidents in Pakistan. He stressed that the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan seeks good relations with Pakistan based on mutual respect, but cautioned that any violation of Afghanistan's territorial integrity will receive a firm response. Anonymous! Hello, my friend. Moose, you crazy bastard. Good to see you, my friend. Just got in. I just flew in and man, are my arms tired. Hey, yo. Our efforts are aimed at bringing goodness to them. A Muslim should bring benefit to another Muslim. But if certain circles implement such projects, then Afghanistan also has the right to defend itself, and it will, he said. Muttaqi accused Pakistan of using trade and refugee issues as political pressure tools, saying the neighboring country was attempting to connect its long-standing domestic problems to Afghanistan. Pakistan's problems are not new, he said. You don't know that the TTP, the Tehrik-e-Taliban, the Pakistani Taliban, has been active in Pakistan for the last 25 years. Didn't the Pakistani government itself declare that 70 to 80,000 of their people were killed during the past 2 decades of conflict? Negotiations between Afghan and Pakistani delegations in Istanbul, not Constantinople, last month ended without a long-term agreement following 3 days of talks mediated by Turkey and Qatar. Turkey and Qatar was also a folk rock duo back in the 1960s, so didn't really get much popularity. Afghan officials said discussions broke down over Islamabad's insistence that Kabul rein in TTP, a militant group that Pakistan claims operates freely inside Afghanistan. Kabul maintained it has no control over the group. Both sides had signed a Qatari-mediated ceasefire in Doha on October 19th, pledging to respect each other's territory and prevent militant incursions. Despite that, sporadic clashes have occurred along the border, with each side blaming the other for violations. Indeed. Meanwhile, we head to Shitville, a.k.a. Israel. Oh, look at you. It's raining there? It's raining over there across the pond? Is it raining men? Hallelujah. You know, you can't ask if it's raining men and not say hallelujah. There's a law against that. If you don't, if you leave somebody hanging like that, well, you know, that's just poor manners. So Israel's bound and determined to kill everybody. as Israel's Knesset approves death penalty draft bill for Palestinian abductees. Yeah, this is people treated like literal human cattle. It's terrible. On Monday, the regime's lawmakers advanced the draft legislation. It was the Israeli Knesset that approved the first reading of a bill that allows the regime to pass the death penalty for Palestinian abductees by 39 votes to 16. So almost like 2 to 1. Is that how this? A little over 2 to 1. The bill will now be referred to the Knesset's National Security Committee for the final 2 readings. It must pass to become a law. Israeli far-right minister Ben-Gvir reacted in a statement saying the death penalty law is critical to the security of the regime. On the security. Why didn't he say national security so we could all take a drink? In a separate vote, the Knesset also advanced another controversial message known as the so-called Al Jazeera law. This bill grants the regime sweeping powers to shut down foreign media outlets without requiring a court order. No transparency for you. According to Haaretz, this bill passed its first reading with 50 votes in favor and 41 against. Israel has not only ordered the closure of Al Jazeera's offices, but its forces have killed hundreds of journalists to prevent transparent coverage of the regime's crimes in Gaza and the occupied West Bank. Doesn't it make that sound funny how they won't let foreign press in? But they're claiming that, we're just defending ourselves. Well, if you're just defending yourselves, why don't you bring the foreign press in and let them see for themselves? Last week, the Palestinian Foreign Ministry called the bill a war crime and a sign of the regime's growing extremism and criminality against the Palestinian people. The ministry said Israel's judicial system and the Knesset act as the regime's tools to legitimize crimes against Palestinians and guarantee impunity. It said the measure is also an extension of the regime's genocide in Gaza to the occupied West Bank with serious implications for the abductees. Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad had earlier slammed the bill. Hamas said the draft law shows the ugly and fascist nature of Israel, while the Islamic Jihad warned that the bill puts thousands of Palestinians at risk of execution. Of course they're going to execute them. It stipulates that judges will be able to impose a death penalty on Palestinians convicted of killing Israelis on nationalistic grounds, that's in quotes. It would not apply to an Israeli killing a Palestinian under similar circumstances. Wow, gee, jolly willikers. Golly, golly, jolly. How about that? The bill, first pushed by far-right Israeli parties before Israel's genocidal war on Gaza in October 2023, has resurfaced in recent months with renewed backing. They are bound and determined to murder as many people as possible. As we see here, Israeli drones kills 2 Palestinians in southern Gaza. From Dave DeCamp. This is going to get bigger. Yeah, let's put it there. An Israeli drone strike yesterday hit a town near a town to the east of Khan Yunis, southern Gaza, killing 2 people, including a child. Of course, it's always a child in the mix. The Palestinian news agency Wafa has reported. I added that last part, if you're just listening to the audio. Medical sources reported that the 2 were killed when a drone targeted a group of civilians, of course the civilians, in the town of Bani Suhaila, east of Khan Yunis. The Wafa report said footage from Turkey's Anadolu agency shows Palestinians mourning the 2 victims of the Israeli drone strike at the Nasser hospital in Khan Yunis. A day earlier, an Israeli strike killed 1 person in a tent in the same town, in an area residents told Al Jazeera was beyond the so-called Yellow Line, the boundary that separates Israeli-occupied Gaza from the rest of the Strip, which is not clearly marked for Palestinians on the ground. And you know why it's not clearly marked for Palestinians on the ground? Because they want to kill Palestinians on the ground or in the air or wherever the hell they are. The Israeli military has maintained a policy of killing anyone who allegedly crosses or approaches the Yellow Line, and reports have indicated that the IDF is enforcing the policy well beyond the line set by the U.S.-backed ceasefire deal. The IDF yesterday acknowledged killing 2 Palestinians whom it claimed were terrorists, of course. The IDF also claimed that the 2 Palestinians were approaching Israeli troops and posed a threat, though it did not allege in its statement that they were armed. They were basically saying, hey, how you doing? And sometimes people feel threatened by friendliness. According to Israeli media, Israeli ministers discussed the policy last month at a security cabinet meeting, with a military official stating that any adult who crosses the line will be shot, and Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir urging the Israeli military to also shoot children. Defense Minister Israel Katz concluded the conversation by stating that anyone who approaches the line should know that they may be harmed. No, they should know that they're going to get capped, and then they don't clearly show this line on purpose. Gaza's health ministry said in its daily update on Monday that since the ceasefire was supposed to go into effect on October 10th, Israeli forces have killed at least 242 Palestinians and injured over 600. The Israeli military has also continued demolishing homes inside the Yellow Line. Every two-story building or house is being targeted, Hamdan Radwan, the mayor of Bani Suhaila, told Al Jazeera. Yeah, so ceasefire doesn't mean what it means to everybody else, to Israel. Cease, in this case, means more, especially if there's children involved. Hamas urges mediators to press Israel over Gaza ceasefire violations. The Palestinian resistance movement, Hamas, has called on mediators and the international community to pressure Israel to halt its deadly violations of the Gaza ceasefire agreement. Marking 1 month since the truce took effect, Hamas reaffirmed its commitment to the deal in a statement on Monday, urging the mediators, guarantors, countries, and international organizations to continue working to pressure the occupation and oblige it to stop its repeated violations. Hamas noted that Israel is violating the ceasefire agreement on a daily and systematic basis through killings, arrests, destruction of homes, and restrictions on the entry of humanitarian aid and fuel to the besieged Strip. Since the agreement came into effect, 271 Palestinians have been killed, including 107 children, Jesus, and 35 women, and like we said, over 600 have been injured, the resistant group that. And according to the statement, 35 Palestinians were kidnapped in violation of the deal, and less than 200 trucks out of the 600 agreed number enter the Strip per day. The resistance movement said that Israel continues to block the Rafah crossing, leaving patients, students, and stranded civilians unable to travel despite the truce agreement. Meanwhile, Hamas said that Israel returned the bodies of Palestinian martyrs mutilated and crushed under tanks, regarding the acts as full-fledged war crimes, adding that Israel continues to withhold a complete list of Palestinian detainees from Gaza, providing incomplete, inconsistent data in violation of the deal. What is going on with my mouse? My mouse is doing something weird. Okay, sorry about that. The mouse has a mind of its own. I think it would be a real mice. Incomplete. Okay. The statement warned that Israel's violations are aimed at undermining the agreement and thwarting efforts aimed to secure a long-lasting ceasefire. Israel has killed nearly 70,000 Palestinians since launching the genocidal war on Gaza on October 7th, before a ceasefire deal brokered by the U.S. was reached in the Strip last month, although we know that number is much, 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 much higher. The initial phase of Trumpy's 20-point Gaza ceasefire plan took effect on October 10th and saw a prisoner exchange, but further stages have not yet been negotiated. I'll learn to talk at some point, folks. Oh, finger man. Boy, you ever tardy. We still got about another hour. We're probably about halfway through, I would say. Maybe not even that. 8 Palestinians killed daily in Gaza since ceasefire, rights group says. So Israel continues to commit genocide against Palestinian civilians, as an average of 8 Palestinians have been killed daily since the ceasefire became effective last month. A Geneva-based rights monitor group has said in a statement on Monday, Euromed Human Rights Monitor noted that Israel continued premeditated killing of Palestinian civilians despite a month having passed since the ceasefire in air quotes, was reached on October 10th between Israel and Hamas. An average of 8 Palestinians are killed daily under the ongoing comprehensive blockade on Gaza, alongside a policy of deliberate starvation, denial of medical treatment for the wounded and sick, and the deliberate hindrance of humanitarian aid, the group said, mentioning that the Israeli army continues to violate the ceasefire daily through aerial and artillery bombardment, gunfire. It stressed that the violation also continues with ongoing destruction of homes and buildings, particularly in the eastern areas of Khan Yunis and Gaza City. These actions form part of a systematic approach to eroding the foundations of life in Gaza and denying its residents their most basic rights, in clear violation of international law, it added, recalling that 242 Palestinians have been killed, including 85 children, and those numbers have been updated. In Israeli attacks over the past month. Euromed reiterated that it amounts to a rate of more than 8 deaths per day and around 619 others injured, at more than 20 injuries per day. This clearly shows that Israel has not ceased its policy of killing and systematically targeting Palestinians. You think? Yeah. So, yeah. And who's going to stop them, right? The United States could technically stop all the funding to Israel in order to get them to stop. But even then, they know that. And they know that's not going to happen because there's too many Zionists that are embedded. You're going to put rice on now? I have watched it. Is that code? Meanwhile, Gaza City faces public health crisis amid waste management blockade. If they didn't have enough problems already. Even before the war, Gaza had a garbage crisis with tons of waste produced daily and just 3 landfills to take it. It's now facing an environmental and humanitarian crisis as the population is forced to live surrounded by rubble and rubbish. When the Israeli blockade of Gaza prevented sanitation crews from accessing waste disposal sites in the eastern parts of the city, authorities established a landfill in the center of Gaza City, but what began as an emergency measure has rapidly escalated into a public health crisis. This waste in the heart of Gaza City is a ticking time bomb for residents and displaced people living here, said one resident. We're facing a dangerous reality that affects daily life and worsens the humanitarian situation. The buildup of waste in densely populated areas has led to the emission of toxic gases, the proliferation of insects, and the spread of foul odors, creating hazardous living conditions for thousands of residents. The problem worsens every day, and the damage is increasing. Children have developed skin allergies because of the waste. Another man living in Gaza City says the garbage must be removed, but there is no equipment, and that's an even bigger issue. The situation poses a direct threat to the health and well-being of Gaza's population, particularly children, the elderly, and those with pre-existing health conditions. Unless something is done soon, both soil and groundwater are at risk of contamination. So it's bad enough that they don't have enough food, they don't have enough medical supplies, and now they're living in filth. They're living in a literal dump at this point, with the rubble, and of course there's dead bodies under the rubble too. It just seems like one thing after another for these poor people over there. And there's still people here who say, well, you know, they're terrorists. You're the terrorist. The Israelis are just shutting down foreign press to show how they're the only democracy in the Middle East. I know that's kind of yeah, that's a good point there. Long time listener. Yeah, it's funny how that works out. Meanwhile, the United Arab Emirates will not join International Stabilization Force in Gaza. Now, this is a short one. The UAE will not join the International Stabilization Force for Gaza because it lacks a clear framework, AFP reported on Monday, citing a senior official. The UAE does not yet see a clear framework for the stability force, and under such circumstances will probably not participate in such a force, Presidential advisor Anwar Gargash told a forum in Abu Dhabi. And what does that mean? Well, I don't know. The UAE has a very uncomfortable relationship with Israel too, so it might be in the best interests of those in Gaza to not have their, sometimes help is not help. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Cholera. Yeah, definitely. So, we turn to their wrath to southern Lebanon. They have another ceasefire there too that they're not doing. Israel kills at least 3 in southern Lebanon, strikes in ongoing escalation. Some Jason Ditz over at antiwar.com. Continuing the ever-escalating attacks on southern Lebanon, Israel carried out a flurry of attacks again on late Sunday evening and early Monday, killing at least 3 people in those 24 hours, all of whom they claimed, as they so often do, were in some way Hezbollah members. That's right. If you're not Hamas, you're Hezbollah. If you're not Hezbollah, you're the Houthis. If you're not the Houthis, you're somebody else. 2 of them were killed in strikes overnight in Humin al-Fawaqwa and al-Sawana, where the 3rd was killed Monday in a strike near Sidon, the town of Baisaria. The IDF claimed without evidence, and the 3rd person was involved in weapons smuggling. Such strikes were not the only ones. Large numbers of airstrikes were reported against other sites in the south and east, including Mahmoudia and Kotrani in the Jezin district and Shara in the Bekaa Valley. You're testing me with the names today. The IDF claimed the sites targeted were places from which rockets were launched, though presumably quite some ago, as Hezbollah, or some time ago, as Hezbollah has not launched a single rocket at Israel since the ceasefire went into effect in November of last year. It's been a full year. The attacks come amid pressure by Israel for Lebanon to impose some vaguely defined situation where Hezbollah ceases to exist and a depopulated Trump zone is created in the south that is partially Israeli occupied. Lebanon has sought negotiations and Israel has repeatedly rejected them. Israel's new demand is for the Lebanese army to unilaterally search private homes in southern parts of Lebanon, searching for Hezbollah weapons. The Hezbollah weapons. The Lebanese army rejected it on the grounds that such searches would fuel civil strife and would also make them look like Israelis who do the same shit. The refusal to conduct such searches was almost certainly the expected outcome and will also be presented by Israel as proof that the Lebanese army isn't doing everything they possibly can to destroy Hezbollah, providing another justification for the ongoing escalation. Yeah. So here we are. I knew this ceasefire was going to be bullshit. Everybody, all of us here knew it too. In Gaza and in Lebanon. And there's not, what are you going to do about it? The only thing you can do as citizens right now, you could do one of 2 things. You try to vote your way out of this, which even if you got the right people in office, you still have to deal with the people that are entrenched in government and those who are controlled by outside foreign forces, if you know what I'm saying. Or you could shut the shit down, which is, I'm a big fan of that. Let's shut it down. Let's change it. And then we'll start it back up again. And some people who are very comfortable right now probably would not want to do that. But once they get uncomfortable, boy, you tend to do new things. Just saying, not saying, just saying. Meanwhile, the Israeli army is short of 12,000 troops as threat of new Lebanon war looms. Dun, 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 dun. That's why they're trying to get all the ultra-Orthodox dudes in there. The Israeli military is facing a shortage of 12,000 recruits, including 7,000 combat troops, as it prepares for a potential confrontation with Hezbollah. Ynet reported on Sunday. Israeli Brigadier General Shai Tayyab, head of the Army's Planning and Personal Administration Division, told the Knesset Subcommittee for IDF Personnel that Israel needs to expand the base of those serving, adding that troop numbers would sharply decline by January 2027. He said the Army was preparing for 36 months of mandatory service and 70 days of annual reserve duty within the next 5 years. The announcement follows Tel Aviv's demand that the Lebanese Armed Forces, the LAF, begin house-to-house raids in South Lebanon to confiscate weapons, Hezbollah weapons, a move rejected by the LAF, as we told you. Lebanese security sources told Reuters on yesterday that Israel has been pressing Lebanon's army to be more aggressive in disarming Hezbollah by searching private homes in the south for weaponry. The sources said the Lebanese army refused the demand, warned that such actions could ignite civil strife and be seen by residents as subservience to Israel. Of course, that's what it would be. Cucks to Israel. They're not going to do that. One Lebanese official told Reuters they're demanding that we do house-to-house searches, and we won't do that. The demand was delivered through the ceasefire mechanism involving Washington, Tel Aviv, Beirut, Paris, and the UN peacekeeping force UNIFIL. The LAF's rejection was followed by intensified Israeli air raids and cross-border attacks. Lebanese journalist Khalil Nasrallah reported that Israeli troops detonated 2 homes near Hula, while drone strikes killed a Lebanese civilian, Samir Faki, in Bissaria. Over 40 Lebanese civilians have been killed by Israeli attacks in the past 6 weeks, and Tel Aviv vowing to continue escalating operations. Cease fire? Question mark. Last week, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz accused Hezbollah of playing with fire and demanded that Lebanon disarm the group and remove it from the south. Meanwhile, Israeli media reports a growing manpower crisis. Israeli military police chief Lieutenant Colonel Muni Amar told the Knesset that 1,232 draft evaders were arrested this year, double the annual target, as enforcement expanded across the country. Tayyab said roughly 80,000 ultra-Orthodox graduates are under enforcement, including 48,000 with formal draft evasion notices through ultra-Orthodox enlistment, though ultra-Orthodox enlistment rose 60% last year to nearly 2,900 recruits. Gearing up for war. They need more bodies. We need more bodies in the meat grinder, y'all. Come on, y'all. More meat in the grinder. And here's a fun one. I saved the best for last. Epstein and Barak brokered Israel's Côte d'Ivoire intelligence relationship. I learned how to say this last night. The Côte d'Ivoire. Where does Ivoire? I think that's what it is. Côte d'Ivoire. French names. They suck. Convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and former Israeli Defense Minister Ehud Barak helped Israeli intelligence shape the security apparatuses of several African nations, most notably in the country of Côte d'Ivoire. Stropsite News reported on yesterday, citing recently released U.S. government documents and leaked emails between Barak and Epstein, who allegedly died in jail in 2019. DSN revealed new details of Israeli intelligence operations in the West African nation. In 2012, Epstein helped Barak deliver a proposal for mass surveillance of Ivorian phone and internet communications crafted by former Israeli intelligence officials, which the former defense minister sought to profit financially from, DSN wrote. In one email, Epstein wrote to Barak, with civil unrest exploding and the desperation of those in power, "Isn't this perfect for you?" Barak replied, "You're right in a way, but not simple to transform it into a cash flow." In 2014, Epstein and Barak successfully brokered an unofficial security agreement between Israel and Côte d'Ivoire, which helped President Alassane Ouattara surveil his population, tighten his grip on power, ban public demonstrations, and arrest peaceful protesters. Under Ouattara, since 2011, freedoms of opinion, thought, and expression have been criminalized. Exiled activist Boga Sako Gervais told DSN it has become forbidden to criticize the head of state. Is that what it is? I don't know. The first time I heard it, I don't know all that fancy shit. In June 2012, Ouattara traveled to Jerusalem to meet then Defense Minister Barak and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to discuss cooperation in science, technology, and human trafficking. And counterterrorism. On the same day, Barak was meeting with President Ouattara in Jerusalem. His son David Dearman Ouattara was in New York City for an appointment with Epstein, according to seized copies of Epstein's schedule released by the U.S. House Oversight Committee. Zell calling me out. I like saying French names. Fuck you, man. 3 months later, Epstein met with Ouattara's niece, Nina Keita, a young fashion model he had known for a decade and who had traveled on Epstein's private jet known as the Lolita Express between New York and Paris. After he met with Keita, Epstein immediately went to the Regency Hotel in New York for a private meeting with Barak. The next month, Epstein flew to the Ivory Coast, Angola, and Senegal. Ivorian Interior Minister Hamed Bakayoko visited Tel Aviv just 2 weeks later to meet with Barak and discuss a bilateral security accord focused on intelligence and cybercrime. Even after Barak left his government role as defense minister, emails and private records show that he finished negotiating the intelligence deal with Ivory Coast covertly with assistance, Côte d'Ivoire. It's just more fun to say. With assistance from Epstein. The relationship between Epstein, Barak, and the Ivory Coast officials that resulted in the security agreement between Israel and the West African nation suggests Epstein worked in some capacity for Israeli intelligence. Oh, you don't say! Wow, that's the first time hearing about that. A year later, Barak also secretly helped MF Group, a French-Israeli security contractor run by Michael Farjan. I guess he's the MF. I guess he's the MF of that group. MFer. Complete the sale of military helicopters to the government of Cameroon, DNS reported, citing leaked emails. Epstein was convicted in 2008 for soliciting a minor for prostitution, but was given a non-prosecution plea deal by the Miami U.S. Attorney, Alexander Acosta, who stated that he was warned to back off because Epstein was connected to an unnamed intelligence agency. More than one. Epstein was again arrested in 2019 on federal sex trafficking charges. Epstein died allegedly while in prison awaiting his trial in mysterious circumstances. Prison authorities claim he committed suicide. However, this is disputed. Epstein's close associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, was convicted of operating a sex trafficking ring with Epstein, Patsy, to supply underage girls to celebrities and politicians. She was sentenced to only 20 years in prison. Epstein's black books containing his client list was not released after the trial. Among the politicians and celebrities who have been linked to Epstein in some fashion are U.S. President Trump, academic Noam Chomsky, former U.S. President Bill Clinton, and current CIA Director William Burns, businessman Bill Gates, and Prince Andrew of Britain. Wow, Noam Chomsky. Did not know that. Since his election earlier this year, President Trump has refused to release new details about Epstein's case, including his client list. Gee, I wonder why. Why? He's like, shh, don't tell anybody, baby. He goes, oh, don't worry. I'm going to fake my death. And yeah. Côte d'Ivoire. Ivory Coast. When you gonna make people feel stupid, Zell. You could have done it either way. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for that. That's the news that's fit to print. Water wet, sky blue. And Blinken knew that Bibi was doing war crimes. Who knew?
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media publish these things as they are true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media use those platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
I don't know why that does that twice. Look at these assholes. U.S. officials warned Secretary Blinken Israel was committing war crimes in December 2023. Yeah, so this is a Joe Biden joint. U.S. officials in the Biden administration repeatedly warned that Israel was committing war crimes in Gaza. The White House ignored the reports to avoid cutting military aid to Israel. 5 former U.S. officials told Reuters that in December 2023, the State Department's legal team brought reports to Secretary Antony Blinken showing Israel was breaching international law and committing war crimes in Gaza. Later, the U.S. obtained intelligence that Israeli military leaders had concluded there was evidence to support war crimes charges against Israel. Late in the Biden presidency, U.S. officials were alarmed that Israel's onslaught in Gaza might breach international legal standards on acceptable collateral damage. Look at that cold language there. Acceptable collateral damage. However, the intelligence and assessments were ignored. If the White House had recognized that Israel was committing war crimes in Gaza, U.S. law would mandate cutting military assistance to Tel Aviv. Reuters reports some senior Biden administration officials feared that a formal U.S. finding of Israeli war crimes would force Washington to cut off arms and intelligence support. According to U.S. officials speaking with the Huffington Post, Biden personally considered intelligence before leaving office, but elected not to reduce support for Israel. He probably didn't even know where his fucking pants were. Oh, so good. The official said White House advisor Brett McGurk, is that like Dirk McGurk, was key to the Biden administration not determining Israel was committing war crimes and violating U.S. law in Gaza. Some officials were concerned that Israel's actions in the Strip could lead to them being targeted for supporting the Israeli onslaught. After the October 7th Hamas attacks, Washington flooded Tel Aviv with tens of billions of dollars in weapons, fueling the destruction in Gaza. Yeah, that's right. Genocide Joe said he saw those pics of, like, he said beheaded babies. Is that what he said? He saw the pictures. He didn't see shit. He may have hallucinated under whatever cocktail of medicines he was on. While the Biden administration never concluded Israel was conducting a genocide, the International Criminal Court sure did, issuing arrest warrants for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Additionally, the ICJ determined in 2024 that it was plausible that Israel was committing genocide. Multiple human rights organizations and U.S. lawmakers have stated that Israel's war on Gaza is a genocide, including Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know, when you're on the left side, when Marjorie Taylor Greene's on the left side of AOC, I know she said it was a genocide, but she, to her credit, she's actually been like, hey, fuckers, you're killing kids. The former Biden administration officials, and to also to her credit, she's been saying this under Biden and Trump. So she hasn't shut up. And I think Trump's pissed off at her, whatever. The former Biden administration officials told Reuters that incoming Trump administration officials on the intelligence about Israel's war crimes, and they showed little interest in the subject. According to the Gaza Health Ministry, over 68,000 Palestinians have been killed. Well, that number is much larger. That number is considered an undercount. Yeah. So Biden knew, Trump knows. What are they doing? Bubkus. Absolutely bullshit, nothing to do anything about it. Still think voting works? Israeli soldiers are finally speaking out about killings of Gaza civilians in a documentary. IDF soldiers tell documentary of opening fire on unprovoked and arbitrary designations of who the enemy was. Israeli soldiers have described a free-for-all in Gaza and a breakdown in norms and legal constraints, with civilians killed at the whim of individual officers, according to testimony in a TV documentary. If you want to shoot without restraint, you can, Daniel, the commander of an IDF tank unit, says in Breaking Ranks Inside Israel's War, due to be broadcast in the UK on ITV this week. Some of the IDF soldiers who talked to the program requested anonymity, while others spoke on the record. all pointed to the evaporation of the official code of conduct concerning civilians. The soldiers who agreed to talk confirmed the IDF's routine use of human shields, contradicting official denials, and gave details of Israeli troops opening fire unprovoked on civilians, racing to reach food handouts at the militarized distribution point set up by the U.S. and Israeli-backed GHF. In basic training for the Army, we all chanted means, intent, and ability, Captain Yotam Vilk, an Armored Corps officer, said in reference to the official IDF training guidelines, stipulating that a soldier can fire only if the target has the means, shows intent, and has the ability to cause harm. There's no such thing as means, intent, and ability in Gaza, Vilk says. No soldier ever mentions means, intent, and ability. It's just a suspicion of walking where it's not allowed, a man aged between 20 and 40. Another soldier identified in the program only as Eli says life and death isn't determined by procedures or opening fire regulations. It's the conscience of the commander on the ground that decides. In those circumstances, the designation of who is an enemy or terrorist becomes arbitrary, Eli says in the documentary. If they're walking too fast, they're suspicious. If they're walking too slow, they're suspicious. They're plotting something. If 3 men are walking and one of them lags behind, it's a 2-to-1 infantry formation. It's a military formation, he says. Eli describes an incident in which a senior officer ordered a tank to demolish a building in an area designated as safe for civilians. A man was standing on the roof hanging laundry, and the officer decided that he was a spotter. He's not a spotter. He's hanging his laundry. You can see that he's hanging his laundry, he says. Now, it's not as if this man had binoculars or weapons. The closest military force was 600 to 700 meters away. So unless he had eagle eyes, how could he possibly be a spotter? And the tank fired a shell. The building half collapsed, and the result was many dead and wounded. Guardian analysis in August of the IDF's intelligence data showed that by the reckoning of Israeli military officials, 83% of those killed in Gaza were civilians, a historic high for modern conflicts, though the IDF disputed the analysis. Of course they did. More than 69,000 Palestinians have been killed since the war started. Of course, that number is much larger. In a written statement, the IDF said the IDF remains committed to the rule of law and continues to operate in accordance with its legal and ethical obligations, despite the unprecedented operational complexity posed by Hamas's systematic embedding within civilian infrastructures and its use of civilian sites. Some of the soldiers interviewed in the Breaking Ranks program said they were influenced by the language of Israeli politicians and religious leaders, suggesting that after the Hamas attack on October 7th, in which about 1,200 Israelis and foreign nationals were killed, every Palestinian was a legitimate target. A UN commission concluded in September that Israel had committed genocide in Gaza. On the question of intent, it pointed to incitement from Israeli leaders such as the president, Isaac Herzog, who shortly after the October 7th attack said, "It's an entire nation out there that is responsible. It is not true, this rhetoric about civilians not aware, not involved. It's absolutely not true." Fucking bloodthirsty bastard. Daniel, the tank unit commander, says in the documentary that the rhetoric declaring there was no such thing as an innocent in Gaza seeped down into army ranks. You hear that all the time, so you start to believe it, he says. A spokesperson for Herzog said the Israeli president had been an outspoken voice for humanitarian causes and the protection of innocents. Who's a spokesperson? Baghdad Bob? The program also provides evidence that such views have been propagated by some rabbis in the ranks. One time, the brigade rabbi sat down next to me and spent half an hour explaining why we must be just like they were on October 7th, that we must take revenge on all of them, including civilians, that we shouldn't discriminate, and that this is the only way, said Major Netta Caspin. Rabbi Avraham Zarbiv, an extremist Jewish cleric who served more than 500 days in Gaza, says in the program, everything there is one big terrorist infrastructure. Zarbiv has not only given religious legitimacy to the mass demolition of Palestinian neighborhoods, but drove military bulldozers himself and claims credit for pioneering a tactic that had been adopted by the IDF as a whole, pointing to the mass purchase of armored bulldozers. The IDF invests hundreds of thousands of shekels to destroy the Gaza Strip. We changed the conduct of an entire army, as Arbiv said in the program. The soldiers giving their accounts and breaking ranks also confirmed consistent reports throughout the 2-year conflict of the use of the Palestinian civilians as human shields, a practice informally known as the Mosquito Protocol. You send the human shield underground. As he walks down the tunnel, he maps it all for you. He has an iPhone in his vest, and as he walks, it sends back GPS information, says Daniel, the tank commander, in the documentary. The commanders saw how it works, and the practice spread like wildfire. After about a week, every company was operating its own mosquito. Yeah, adding a zero is probably the easiest way to get it more correct. That's for sure. The IDF said in a statement that the IDF prohibits the use of civilians as human shields or coercing them in any way to participate in military operations. These orders have been routinely emphasized to forces throughout the war. Yada, yada, yada. Allegations of misconduct are thoroughly examined, and when identifying details are provided, the matter is investigated in depth, the IDF said. In several cases, investigations have been opened by the Military Police Criminal Investigation Division, or MIPSID, following suspicions involving Palestinians in military missions. These investigations remain ongoing. I'm sure they do. When you investigate yourself, you usually find yourself innocent. Just ask the cops. The makers of Breaking Ranks spoke to a contractor identified only as Sam, who worked at food distribution sites run by the GHF, who says he witnessed the IDF killing unarmed civilians. He described an incident at one distribution site where 2 young men were running in the general rush to get aid. You could just see 2 soldiers run after them. They drop on their knees and they just take 2 shots, and you just see 2 heads snap backwards and just drop, Sam says. He recounts another incident in which an IDF tank in the vicinity of one of the distribution sites destroys a normal car. Just 4 normal people sat inside it. According to UN figures, at least 944 Palestinian civilians were killed while seeking aid in the vicinity of GHF aid sites. GHF and the IDF have denied targeting civilians seeking food at aid distribution sites, and the IDF has denied the allegations of systematic war crimes, insisting it operates in accordance with international law and takes measures to minimize civilian harm in its operations against Hamas. That's a lot of lying. Internal investigations of incidents involving the killing of civilians have led to virtually no disciplinary or legal accountability. Breaking Ranks shows the mental strain on at least some of the soldiers in Gaza. I feel like they've destroyed all my pride in being an Israeli and being an IDF officer, Daniel says in the program. All that's left is shame. Yeah, it should be shameful. Should be doing something about it. Should be getting together with some of your other shameful IDF people and stop this bullshit. They could stop that in Israel too, but they're so freaking propagandized. They're from birth. Literally from birth, they tell you that you're surrounded by countries that want to kill you. You know, they make you go in the military young. And, yeah. The only democracy in the Middle East. Man, if that's the democracy, no thanks. That's fine. I don't need that. Meanwhile, 44 journalists killed inside displacement tents in Gaza. The Freedom Committee of the Palestinian Journalists Syndicate said on Sunday that the Israeli occupation forces have killed 44 Palestinian journalists inside displacement tents in the Gaza Strip. The committee stated that these journalists are among 254 media workers who have been killed since the beginning of the Israeli assault on Gaza in October 2023 up to the end of October last month. According to the report, the attacks were systematic, targeting displacement tents located around hospitals and UNRWA shelters, in addition to direct sniper shootings inside displacement areas. It added that the victims were working for local and international media outlets, and most of them were killed while covering the humanitarian situation in the displacement camps. The syndicate affirmed that such targeting reflects a deliberate attempt to silence the Palestinian press and prevent the truth from reaching the ground. It also stressed the need to hold the Israeli occupation accountable for its crimes against journalists and to ensure international protection for media crews working in Gaza. Yeah. If you're so transparent, if you're not doing anything wrong, bring the press in. Why don't you bring the press in? They won't do that. And that's the thing. We all know this. All right. We know they don't let the press in because of all the bullshit that they're doing, all the murder, all the war crimes and stuff. And so how do we get the rest of the world to figure that shit out too? I guess we just have to keep saying it over and over until it sticks. So I mean, that's the only thing I can think of that we can do as far as that's concerned. Otherwise, it's just going to keep happening. And we're all just going to keep complaining about it, and nothing's going to happen. So we have to fix that. Meanwhile, British journalist Sami Hamdi has been released from ICE detention. He's going to be going home. There's the young man right there. British journalist and political commentator Sami Hamdi will be released from the ICE detention following a hearing yesterday, according to his legal team. Sam and the government reached an agreement during his hearing that he would leave the U.S. voluntarily. He arrived in the U.S. on October 19th on a valid visitor visa for a speaking tour, but his visa was revoked on October 24th without his knowledge and without being informed by immigration authorities, according to Zara Bilo, executive director for the San Francisco Bay Area chapter on the Council on American Islamic Relations. Of course, that's CARE. Sam was charged with a visa overstay on October 26th by ICE agents while he was at San Francisco International Airport and was then transferred to Golden State Annex in McFarland, California, where he was kept in a cell with around 80 other people. He has not been charged with any criminal conduct or charged on the grounds of national security, despite allegations by the Department of Homeland Security on the tweeters that he supports terrorism and actively undermines the safety of Americans. Billu told Middle East Eye over the phone that Sam was approached and detained by ICE agents on October 26th in the airport's domestic terminal. He was traveling between San Francisco and Florida, so this is not a border stop. This was a domestic trip. He had already gone through TSA at the time, Billu said. Billu said Sam's visa had been revoked on October 24th, but they did not provide a reason and added they did not give him notice, so there was no way for him to voluntarily leave or voluntarily travel back to Great Britain. CARE California, along with Sam's legal team, requested and was granted an emergency restraining order preventing the government from transferring him away from his legal team in California. If such a move were to occur, they would provide a 72-hour notice. Billu said the legal team had also requested a bond hearing because there's no reason that he should be in detention right now. Sam's father, Tunisian author and journalist Dr. Mohamed El-Hakimi Hamdi, said in a post on the tweeters yesterday that it was the first time his son had stood before a judge. He's never broken a law, he said. Mohammed added it was ironic that Sam was standing trial for his views on Palestine in the land of the free rather than for a crime. He added that Sam had publicly condemned anti-Semitism. He also shared that Sam liked President Donald Trump's America First policy and hoped it would shape U.S. policy more broadly in the future. Yeah, that's not going to happen. He warned Americans that accepting what was happening to Sam may pave the way for violations of their own First Amendment rights. That's coming. Dear Americans, you are decent, open-minded, kind. That's how my son sees you, he says. Why do this to him? For an opinion. Accepting this injustice today may make it tomorrow's threat to you. Freedom and the right to disagree are indivisible. CARE California CEO Hussam Alouche also said that Sam was being penalized for speaking out about Israel's war crimes against Palestinians and should never have spent a single night in an ICE cell. Sam's case shows how quickly our government officials are willing to sacrifice our First Amendment and free press when a journalist uses his platform to dare put America first before Israel. His forthcoming release is welcome, but it does not erase the message that sends to every activist and journalist watching, and every authoritarian dictatorship worldwide can now claim they are following America's example, of course. Sam's detention is the latest episode in a series of detentions of students and journalists. Tufts University student Rumesa Ozturk, Columbia University graduate and permanent U.S. resident Mahmoud Khalil, and Georgetown University postdoctoral scholar Badar Khan Suri were all detained by ICE earlier this year for their pro-Palestinian activism. None were charged with a crime. Columbia University students Yunseo Chung and Ranjani Srinivasan were also targeted by ICE. Srinivasan left the U.S. on her own volition after she was informed that her student visa had been revoked. She had been arrested and released in a public raid the evening that students occupied Hamilton Hall and renamed it Hines Hall. Jordan Wells, a senior attorney at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights of the San Francisco Bay Area, was part of the legal team that challenged ICE's targeting of Chung for her pro-Palestinian activism. He told Middle East Eye in an email that the Trump administration was using immigration law to control who is able to engage with the American public. Controlling the narrative. This is a clear example of the Trump administration using immigration law to control the ideas with which it will permit American audiences to engage, he said. We should all bristle at such brazen censorship. Of course. Yeah, that's what they've been doing to students who've been speaking out, revoking their visas, kicking them out. Hell yeah. Free the U.S. of AIPAC. Yeah. Well, John F. Kennedy was trying to do that. Make them declare themselves a foreign faction, whatever the thing is called. Where are we here? 1, 2, 3. Okay. We got plenty of stuff going on. Meanwhile, the BBC chair apologizes over editing of Trump documentary as president threatens legal action. What? Trump threatening legal action? That's crazy. Who the hell? Whoa. Okay, let's try that. BBC. Yeah, BBC will always mean something else to me. The chair of the BBC has apologized for what he called an error of judgment in how a documentary edited a speech by Trumpy as Trump threatens legal action against the British broadcaster. Samir Shah said the BBC's DNA and culture are rooted in impartiality, but acknowledged there were real issues to address. Oh boy. The apology comes after criticism that a 2024 documentary appeared to misrepresent comments made by Trump by editing together two parts of a speech in a way that did give the impression of a direct call for violent action, specifically for the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot. In a letter to lawmakers on Parliament's Culture, Media, and Sports Committee, Shah said that in hindsight, it would have been better to act earlier and that the BBC should have taken a more formal position on it. He confirmed that the BBC had received a letter from Trump threatening legal action over the program. We've received communication from Trump and his people, and we are now considering how to reply to him, Shah said, adding, I do not know yet if he is suing the BBC, but he's a litigious fellow, so we should be prepared for all outcomes. Trump is known for legally challenging reports he finds disagreeable, including U.S. broadcasters ABC and CBS in recent years. In those cases, the TV networks offered Trump large financial settlements and other changes, drawing controversy. So he does. That's the biggest scam right there that he can do. Yeah, they have. Bullshit, and caca. That's what the BBC stands for. No, it stands for something else. Big black cock. Shah rejected a suggestion that the BBC had swept the issue under the carpet, but reiterated that lessons had to be learned. Controversy follows the resignations on Sunday night of BBC Director General Tim Davie and new CEO Deborah Turnus. A leaked memo written by Michael Prescott, former independent advisor to the BBC, criticized the documentary's editing of Trump's speech. Shah said it was not the board's role to determine who should remain in post, but admitted he was upset by Davie's decision to step down. I did not want to lose Tim Davie, nor did any member of the board, he said. My job now is to ensure a smooth transition, and Tim will help with that. Shah said he would not resign, adding that his responsibility is to represent the public and ensure that journalism is impartial. The BBC impartial. Oh, these some funny people. They should be on Last Comic Standing. Diddy's entered prison drug rehab, centered on behavior. What the hell? Yeah, only Monty Python is credibility on that network. And Doctor Who, too. I mean, the old ones. The new ones. Meanwhile, in Malian woman who posted on TikTok, abducted and executed. Wow. Suspected jihadists in northern Mali kidnapped a young woman who had been posting on TikTok and then publicly executed her. Her family and local officials said Sunday. Mariam Sisi posted videos about the city of Tonka in the northern Timbuktu region and had 90,000 followers, but her abductors accused her of collaborating with the army. News of her death has shocked the country, which is ruled by a military junta that is struggling to contain the jihadists' insurgency that has gripped the country since 2012. My sister was arrested Thursday by the jihadists, her brother told AFP, saying they had accused her of informing the Malian army of their movements. The following day, they took her on a motorbike to Tonka, where she was shot in Independence Square, he said, adding that I was in the crowd. A security source told AFP, Mariam Sisi has been assassinated in a public square in Tonka by jihadists who accused her of having filmed them for the Malian army. The source, speaking on condition and anonymity, called it a barbaric act. A local official also confirmed the execution to AFP, denouncing it as an ignoble act. The military junta is struggling to contain the long-running jihadist insurgency. In recent weeks, fighters from JNIM, the al-Qaeda-linked group for the support of Islam and Muslims, have imposed a fuel blockade that has forced the government to close schools and prevented harvesting in several regions. And, you know, I added that story in there because we're getting to this point where you're starting to see, like that article not long ago said that these Trump wannabe dictators and leaders are starting to do this kind of stuff, to shut down dissent, to shut down. And even though this wasn't the government, is still just posting on TikTok, and you get murdered for that. These are crazy times we live in. These are crazy times. Speaking of crazy, Ahmad al-Sharaa becomes first Syrian leader to visit the White House. Yay! They can. Hey, I used to be al-Qaeda. I know. It's weird, but here you are. Ahmad al-Sharaa, a former member of al-Qaeda, on Monday became the first ever Syrian president to visit the White House, in a reflection of Damascus's stunning shift from a U.S. designated sponsor of terror to partner. Sharaa, whose Islamist rebel forces ousted longtime ruler Bashar al-Assad late last year, is the first Syrian leader to visit the White House since the country's 1946 independence from France. The Assad family had courted Russia and Iran as partners. We have to make Syria work. Syria is a big part of the Middle East, Trump said after meeting Sharaa. He's a very strong leader. He comes from a very tough place, and he's a tough guy, Trump said, referring to Sharaa. We will do everything we can to make Syria successful. I probably would have sounded better in the fake Trump voice, but just wasn't feeling it. Sharaa's Islamist group, HTS, toppled Assad in December last year. Since then, he's moved to solidify Damascus's security partnership with the U.S. as he tries to reassert authority over the Kurdish-dominated northeast of Syria and address Israeli attacks in the south. Sharaa's government is already closely aligned with the U.S.'s NATO ally Turkey. Earlier this year, Turkey began training Syrian soldiers. Trump said that his Turkish counterpart, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, is very much in favor of what is happening in Syria. While Sharaa has received a cooler reception from Egypt and the UAE, which are wary of his past, he has forged closer links to Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Not surprised. U.S. officials said ahead of Sharaa's visit that they expected him to formally be part of the U.S.-led coalition against the Islamic State, the IS group. It is a head-spinning turn for Sharaa, who served roughly 5 years in a U.S. prison after traveling to Iraq to repel the 2003 U.S. invasion. He went on to found al-Nusra Front, al-Qaeda's Syrian branch. Nusra Front later fought against IS, but But HTS was itself only delisted as a terrorist group by Washington in July of this year. Shura was taken off the list on Friday. Patrick Haney, an expert on HTS, previously told Middle East Eye that Shura's ability to assuage the concerns of foreign powers over his past and potentially future intentions has been his chief accomplishment. Shura's main success has been showing that Syria will not be the breeding ground for any movement that will challenge another state. That includes everyone, Palestinian militants, Shia militant groups, the PKK, and the Muslim Brotherhood, for what it's worth, said Haney, who is the co-author of Transformed by the People, a book on HTS's rise to power. On Sunday, Shura and his foreign minister, Assad al-Shaibani, were filmed playing basketball with the U.S.'s top Middle East general, CENTCOM Commander Brad Cooper. Well, he wasn't playing ball with Trump. Trump's too fat. Trump would be like, let me just eat that basketball. It looks delicious. Shura also had a meal with Republican pro-Israel Congressman Brian Mast. Oh, everybody loves Brian Mast, who has been blocking congressional efforts to repeal sanctions on Syria. Despite the flurry of meetings, there were signs that the White House was moving cautiously with Shura's visit. Shura entered the White House through the back door. Oh, Jesus. Shura, backdoor guests are best. Shura entered the White House through the back door and was not given the ceremonial honor guard that is rolled out for most foreign leaders. God, it's like he's sneaking his mistress into the White House. Trump also eschewed his now legendary press gaggles where foreign leaders join him for questions in the Oval Office. Yeah, why do you do that? Still, Syria's official news agency released a photo of Trump and Shura smiling and shaking hands in the Oval Office. Another image showed Shura Shaibani, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, and U.S. Ambassador to Turkey Tom Barak all sitting in front of Trump behind his desk. Barak, who is also the envoy to Syria, is lobbying for a deal whereby the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, the SDF, incorporates into the Syrian military, but the SDF has been reluctant to surrender the autonomy it earned while fighting IS on the U.S.'s behalf. Experts say the closer Shura moves to the U.S., the more American support for the SDF becomes redundant. Time plays in Shura's favor. The Americans are moving gradually to Damascus, Dareen Khalifa at the International Crisis Group previously told Middle East Eye. The military resources that are coming to Damascus will also be significant. Reuters and AFP have reported that the U.S. is eyeing opening an air base south of Damascus. That's going to be awkward since there's already a Russian base in Syria. The move has been described as part of a wider effort for the U.S. to monitor a de-escalation agreement it is trying to broker between Shura's government and Israel. But Israel's still going to bomb them because that's all they do. Shura's successes in foreign policy circles have been slow to translate into economic gains for ordinary citizens who experts say face a stalling economy and corruption. He's like the Malay of the Middle East. Western companies are interested in investing in Syria, and Shura has obtained pledges from wealthy Gulf states to take part in Syria's estimated $200 billion reconstruction. But business people and officials say the lingering threat of sanctions is deterring investment. Trump announced in May that he was lifting all U.S. sanctions on Syria in a move he credited to the lobbying of Turkish President Erdogan and Saudi Crown Prince MBS. Trump has moved to repeal the sanctions he can impose as president swiftly. On Monday, he announced another 180-day waiver on crippling Caesar sanctions. Caesar sanctions. That's like Caesar salad. But the 2019 Caesar sanctions law was passed by Congress, which is the only branch of government that can fully repeal it. The Trump administration is lobbying Congress to repeal the sanctions, but Congressman Mast has been blocking the effort, diplomats, U.S. officials, and activists say. Maoz Mustafa, the head of the Syrian Emergency Task Force, who is spearheading the push to repeal Caesar, a law his group originally helped author, said there needs to be a clear-cut repeal in order for Gulf states and Western companies to have confidence in investing. If there is any hint of a snapback, no company is going to move into Syria. That is what Netanyahu wants, and President Trump is against, Mustafa told Middle East Eye for some stuff there. Yeah, so he's at the thing there, talking to Trumpy, having a good time. I had to throw this in because of Trump's dumb shit, right? And me and my buddy Ed were talking about this last night. Trump proposed a $2,000 tariff dividend for Americans. Tariff dividend. Over the weekend, U.S. President and idiot Donald Trump promised Americans $2,000 each. Woo, a cool, crisp $2K. From the trillions of dollars in tariff revenue he said his administration has collected. During his second term, Trump has imposed tariffs broadly on countries and on specific goods such as drugs, steel, and cars. People that are against tariffs are fools, Trump said in a November 9th Truth Social post. We're taking in trillions of dollars and will soon be paying down our enormous debt, $37 trillion. Record investment in the U.S., plants and factories going up all over the place. A dividend of at least $2,000 a person, not including high-income people, will be paid to everyone. How seriously should people take his pledge? Experts urged caution. Yeah, you think? Experts are like, what, Trump's saying something? No, I don't listen to that bullshit. Make Al-Qaeda great again. Yeah, I know, right? Tariffs are projected to generate well below trillions a year, making it harder to pay each person $2,000. And the administration, well, I mean, they could do it with fiat currency, but still. And the administration already said it would use the tariff revenue to either pay for existing tax cuts or to reduce the federal debt. None of that is true. Trump's post came days after the U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments about the legality of its tariff policy. The justices are weighing whether Trump has the power to unilaterally impose tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. If the justices rule against Trump, much of the expected future tariff revenue would not materialize. Trump said everyone, excluding high-income people, would get the money, but did not explain the criteria for high-income people. He also did not say whether children would receive the payment. In a November 10th Truth Social post, Trump said his administration would first pay $2,000 to low and middle income USA citizens and then use the remaining tariff revenues to substantially pay down national debt. Wow. Trump has not said what form the payments might take. Besant said the dividend could come in lots of forms, in lots of ways. You know, it could be just the tax decreases that we're seeing on the president's agenda. You know, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, deductibility of auto loans. So, you know, those are substantial deductions. Analysts said it is a stretch to rebrand an already promised tax cut as a new dividend. Yeah, it's like, dude, that was in the, what is it, the Big Beautiful Bill or whatever. What is it with bees? Big Beautiful Bill, and then there was Build Back Better. It was like, stop using the bees. Analysts said, Trump had previously discussed paying Americans with tariff revenue. We have so much money coming in. We're thinking about a little rebate, but the big thing we want to do is pay down the debt. He told reporters on July 25th, we're thinking about a rebate. You're going to get, I said it was going to be a coupon is for like Popeye's chicken or, free birthday parties at Chuck E. Cheese. Days later, Senator Josh Hawley introduced legislation that would give $600 tariff rebate checks to each American adult and child. Hawley's bill was not advanced, either because they're too greedy or they were like, that's too cheap. You're too cheap. $600. The fuck's am I going to do with that? Trump made the imposition on tariffs one of his signature campaign promises for the 2024 presidential election. Since taking office in January, he's enacted tariffs on a scale not seen in the U.S. in almost a century. The current overall average tariff rate is 18%, the highest since 1934, according to Yale Budget Lab. I used to create all kinds of science projects in the Yale Budget Lab out of money. Though through the end of October, the federal government collected $309.2 billion in tariff revenue, compared with $165.4 billion through the same point in 2024, an increase of $143.8 billion. The Center Right Tax Foundation projects that tariff revenue will continue to increase to more than $200 billion a year if the tariffs remain in place. Erica York, the Tax Foundation's vice president of federal tax policy, estimated in a November 9th Twitter post that a $2,000 tariff dividend for each person earning less than $100,000 would equal 150 million adult recipients. That would cost nearly $300 billion, York calculated, or more if children qualified. That is more than the tariffs have raised so far, she said. That's part of the scam. He's telling you you're gonna get it's you know why? Because his numbers suck, and he's like, well, yeah, let me just give you some money. I'll give you some money. I'm gonna try and buy your love. Let me buy your love. I don't think you can buy love at this point. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget projected that Trump's proposal could cost $600 billion depending on how it is structured. The Trump administration already promised to use tariff revenue for other purposes, including reducing the country's deficit and offsetting the cost of the GOP tax and spending bill Trump signed into law in July. The big beautiful bill. As Trump announced new tariffs on April 2nd, he said he would use trillions and trillions of dollars to reduce our taxes and pay down our national debt. Besant has made the same promise, falsely saying in July that tariffs were going to pay off our deficit. Wah, 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 wah. The Treasury Secretary said in August that he and Trump were laser focused on paying down the debt. The boogeyman, the debt. I think we're going to bring down the deficit to GDP, Besant said in an August 19th CNBC interview. We'll start paying down the debt, and then at a point that can be used as an offset to the American people. Tariffs are already costing Americans money, analysts say. Independent estimates range from about $1,600 to $2,600 a year per household. Given the similarity of these amounts to Trump's proposed dividend, York said it would be more efficient to remove the tariffs. Joseph Rosenberg, Urban Institute, Brookings Institution, School of Redundancy School, Tax Policy Center senior fellow, said a $2,000 dividend in the form of a check would require congressional approval, and lawmakers have already declined to act on that idea once. When members of Congress approved the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, they had the ability to include a tariff dividend, but they didn't, said Rosenberg. So just to remember, the TLDR is there's not going to be a tariff dividend. It's all bullshit. It's just his way of trying to bribe the American public to love him for some reason. Or maybe his Republican cohorts are saying, hey, everything you're doing right now is shit, and we're not going to win anything in the midterms, and you're fucking us over. Maybe you should shut the fuck up about these tariffs. Finally, we haven't had a James Lee video in a while. He's been doing all this Charlie Kirk research, and I'm like, oh, that's all well and good, but, you know, I like it when he does more of the investigative stuff in other areas too. And this time he's talking about the Palisades fire. I know it's black, but don't worry. There'll be pictures right now.
A lone gunman, a lone arson. They are the type of people responsible for all the death and suffering in this world. Or at least that is what they, the powers that be, want us to believe.
Breaking news out of California right now. Officials are giving an update after announcing an arrest in the deadly Palisades fire. A 29-year-old man has been arrested for allegedly igniting the fire, which killed 12 people and destroyed thousands of homes.
Governor Gavin Newsom in L.A. the same day the arrest of Jonathan Rinderknecht was announced, the man accused of starting the flames that grew into the Palisades fire.
To have a little bit of closure. Gavin Newsom wants closure. Or in other words, nothing more to see here, nothing more to talk about. I know thousands of homes were destroyed, people died, but please, no more questions. Okay? Moving forward, everything that is to do with the LA wildfire is going to be placed or pinned on this 29-year-old named Jonathan Rinderknecht. Got it?
The allegations in the affidavit are supported by digital evidence, including the defendant's ChatGPT prompt of a dystopian painting showing in part a burning forest and a crowd fleeing from it. The allegations are further supported by the defendant's cell phone, his false statements to law enforcement, and his behavior during the Lockman fire, which the defendant is charged with maliciously starting shortly after midnight on New Year's Day of this year, and which eventually became the Palisades fire.
ChatGPT proves it all, except there's just one problem. Why and how did the January 1st Lockman fire grow into the inferno that destroyed most of the Palisades almost a week later? Because that is what they're saying. A small fire somehow grew into a bigger fire nearly a week later. And more interestingly, why are they so quick to want the public to move on? Well, let me tell you, starting on January 1st, the Lockman fire. That fire, that Mr. Jonathan Rinderknecht allegedly started, that fire was supposedly contained, according to this tweet posted by the LA Fire Department. Not only that, the LA deputy fire chief also publicly stated unequivocally in an interview weeks later that, quote, the fire was dead out.
Fire on New Year's Eve. I was not there. I was out of town. However, when that fire broke up, I got myself and my deputy chief were up on the phone talking to each other and talking to the incident commander. I can tell you those people on that fire ground were highly qualified and well trusted. They also did what they called a cold trailing operation well into the next day. We kept a patrol well over 36 hours. We kept the hose line on the hill. We kept it plumbed just to go back and continue to patrol. That fire was dead out.
But is that actually true? Because now we have these newly leaked text messages claiming that firefighters were ordered to leave the smoldering burn site. Quote, firefighters mopping up a small brush fire that authorities say reignited as the Palisades fire 5 days later were ordered to leave the original burn scene, even though they had complained the ground was still smoldering and rocks remain hot to the touch, according to firefighter text messages reviewed by the LA Times. In one text message, a firefighter who was at the scene on January 2nd wrote that the battalion chief had been told that it was a, quote, bad idea to leave the burn scar unprotected because of the visible signs of smoldering terrain, and the rest is history, the firefighter wrote in recent weeks. History, meaning multiple deaths, property damage and loss into the hundreds of billions of dollars, 164 to be exact based on a recent estimate. So the $164 billion question is, why were these firefighters ordered to leave? Because, according to local residents, in the days between January 2nd and January 6th, they continued to observe smoke wisps drifting from the original ignition site. These sightings, reported through 311, local neighborhood watch alerts, and social media, were consistently dismissed as, quote, post-fire haze. Even though we literally have photo evidence, pictures after the Lockman fire was supposedly put out that clearly showed the ground was still smoldering. So why wasn't anything done? That we don't know for sure yet. And that is what people like me, the residents of the Palisades, and other journalists are still trying to figure out. But what I can point to are the many coincidences that have happened since those fires. First, since the Palisades fire, about 50% of the lots sold have been bought out by corporations. How convenient is that? Governor Gavin Newsom has also approved this $101 million project to build quote-unquote low-income housing in the Palisades on land that was once previously held by locals. LA Mayor Karen Bass also deleted, allegedly, a bunch of text messages pertaining to the city's lackluster wildfire response, for which she's now being sued. Now, am I saying that the fire was deliberately started so they, meaning the corrupt government officials and corporations, could snag up properties at bargain bin prices, build state-funded low-income housing, and then coordinate a cover-up by deleting the text messages from that day and then pin it on some random 29-year-old? No, that is not what I'm saying. But all of those things did happen.
Why is the Eaton fire treated differently than the Palisades fire? Because it was a totally different fire. Eaton was started by SoCal Edison power lines. They caused the ignition. They're getting sued for it, open and shut. Eaton also had legit 70-mile-per-hour winds at night, so no aircraft could fly. The Palisades fire was different. It's not open and shut. It was a cascade of government and bureaucratic failures that led to a fire that never should have happened. Palisades wasn't power lines. It was a rekindle from a small fire that LAFD and Topanga State Park failed to mop up and left it to smolder unchecked for a week. Unlike Eaton, Palisades only had 20 to 30-mile-per-hour winds. Aircraft could fly that fire, and they did. The problem is LAFD Didn't even order fixed-wing tankers for 90 minutes. It burned for an hour and a half, completely unchecked by retardant because they forgot to order the tankers. They had 2 empty reservoirs, 2 helipspots off lines. They bypassed nearest resources. They sent home engine companies. Arriving assets didn't get comms, plans, nor assignments. They admit they hired chief officers in the LAFD who didn't even know basic wildland firefighting tactics. The Palisades fire was a cascade of bureaucratic failures from Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, LAFD, LADWP, and the LA County Sheriff. Yes, the Eaton fire was a horrific catastrophe on the same scale as the Palisades, but it was a straightforward wildfire disaster. This unmitigated comedy of errors in the Palisades demands scrutiny, and it's embarrassing journalism from the LA Times attempting to malign Senator Scott and Johnson for their great work getting to the bottom of this criminal negligence that destroyed my town.
My name is James Lee. This is the 5149 Show. Let me know what you think happened in the LA fires down in the comment section below. If you want to support my journalism, please hit that like button, subscribe, share this video so together we can take on the mainstream media and the corrupt government officials and politicians who are destroying America for their own personal gain.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor?
Crickets.
Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up, please? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster?
I'll just stand here
No
and say
apology
nothing.
for them. Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home?
Yeah. She, nothing to say there. Yeah, there was a lot of sketchy questions about the LA fires, particularly the Palisades. What's up, Kitty, Cowboy Kitty, and Yonina in the house? What's up? Good to see you. Yeah, and she was just standing there. Yeah, Karen, she was just standing there, just like, what? Well, speaking of, well, there's people out there. You know, our buddy Kevin is out there. You know, his house was destroyed in the Eaton fire. But let's get to our you know, our mutual aid folks that need your help. If you can help, please do so. If you can't, if you can share out the links, they're in the description down below for all the shows here. The Justice for Aspen's plight, she's currently in legal trouble because she was riding in a car in Georgia. That was her crime. And so she could use your help. Her GoFundMe is here. We've got our buddy Chanda, who's dealing with cancer right now, as she was before, and now it's she was in remission, and then it came back, and it's just heartbreaking. I know people in my family who've died of cancer, and it's just horrendous. Again, if you want to donate, that would be great. If you can share out the links, you know, that'd be fine too. Our buddy Cowboy Kitty, his sister-in-law, taken by ICE over some bullshit. He's been giving us updates on Twitter too. I appreciate you, Cowboy, for doing that and letting us know what's going on. So currently right now is she's still going through the legal process. Has she even been out at all, Cowboy? You know, well, she could. She's trying to get $4,500 for her legal fees, and right now it's at $1,700. So anything you could do to help, that would be great. Our buddy NoliDee, she was her place was in a fire, and you know she's wheelchair bound, so she needs ramps and stuff like that to get into places, and her place. So she's trying to raise some money to find a place with those amenities. It's not amenities, well, the necessities really. So, you know, if you could help her out, we appreciate it. And of course, our buddy Kevin from Black Bear News, whose house was destroyed in the Eaton fire that was talked about in the James Lee video there too. And oh, what? Natalia's being deported? Oh shit. Is there any way to she could appeal, but it would cost thousands? Oh Jesus. I'm very sorry to hear that, Cowboy. That's such bullshit too. And she got pulled over for just bullshit. That's terrible. I don't know, maybe an 11th hour surge of funds or something could happen. I mean, maybe she could appeal, but God, man, I'm really sorry to hear that. And also, you know, since it's Veterans Day today, you know, we have this is from Charity Navigator. This is like one of the more I guess legit sites that chart charities, and this one is in particular for veterans and military service members. So if you want to help out veterans today as well, there are plenty of highly graded charities out there. Operation Homefront Incorporated, Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, Hire Heroes USA, you have the Wounded Warrior Project. Although I'm a little suspect about that. I keep seeing those on the old people channels, the commercials for it, and it's I mean, this is mostly geared towards 9/11 veterans, or veterans since 9/11. And there's a whole list on here. They're all here. I've got the link down. Well, I don't have the link in the description right now, but it'll be on our Substack with all the news links that we have for today. Be sure to check out the Substack. So if you ain't got time to watch the show, what we do is we post a link to the YouTube video in the Substack and whatever promotional thing we're doing. And then we have each individual story there listed that you can click on, and you can read each individual story for yourself if maybe you didn't understand my garbled voice during the show, or if you want to read it while you're watching along with the show, you know, that works as well. So, but this information will be in here. This is Charity Navigator. Let me see what the address is. Let me put this in the chats for everybody. Hey, everybody. Hopefully this works. We'll see. So, yeah, so that's Charity Navigator for that specifically. They have other charities on there, but this one is for the veteran service members, for, you know, to help our military veterans that have been basically thrown away after their service. I know some people are like, well, they shouldn't have been in the military in the first place. Everybody has mitigating circumstances. Maybe people are just desperate for money, or they want to get some sort of college paid for and they'll do what they can, or maybe just, you know, their pressure from their family or something to join the service, whatever it is. You know, veterans have been ignored for the most part for the longest time. And my dad was a veteran, and it took him forever to get his VA medical benefits that he should have gotten years and years ago. And there's a backlog to help new veterans get their benefits. And it's a real nightmare for these people. So, you know, at least remember that today on Veterans Day as we talk about that. So coming up tomorrow, me and Auntie Laine will be doing the Undercurrent and talking about how there's new visa restrictions for people coming into the country that may have severe health issues. So she's going to be talking about that. Yeah, she's been doing a great job with that. I'm just her helper monkey on the show. So I appreciate all the good work Laine is doing. And it's good to see her back doing some shows like this too. So that's going to be tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Your dad's a vet too? Yeah, my dad was Navy. He was in World War II. He was too tall to go on the ships, so he was a airplane mechanic down in Corpus Christi, Texas. and they would bring in airplanes to get repaired, and some of them, some of them have like body parts and stuff in there, and it's just, yeah. Anyway, I found this for our little kicker today. I just thought this was funny because, the police, I was joking earlier about how the police, investigating themselves always find themselves innocent. Well, this is a different kind of thing here, as loose pig named Breakfast causes chaos in Buffalo, New York neighborhood. So we get to see, is this going to let us do it? Is it not going to let us do it? No?
At 6:32, sometimes you just never know what you're going to run into when you're in the city of Buffalo, whether it's a Bills fan saying "Go Bills" or a pet pig.
No.
That's Breakfast, the pig, running wild on Buffalo's east side. Not the first time animals have gotten loose in Buffalo either. Last October, neighbors came together for the Chickens Are Out the Coop think tank, calling for the city of Buffalo to enforce the chicken ordinance more strictly, voicing concern over the smell and public health hazards of chickens roaming their neighborhood.
People...
All right, you're going to talk about chickens. I'm going to talk about pigs. An escaped pig went for a rampage through a New York neighborhood and turned out to be a pet belonging to a Buffalo Police Department officer. What? See, because it's a pig, and how does the pig's own? Yeah, no, breakfast. Breakfast is the most important pig of the day. I just find it funny that a police officer has a pet pig. Is that his partner? So residents on Victor Place in the Hamlin Park Historic District of Buffalo said their neighborhood erupted into chaos Wednesday afternoon when the large pig ran through the area and chased locals. Videos captured by a witness show animal control and police officers pursuing the porcine perpetrator. Renita Shadwick's video features audio of a police officer identifying the pig as his pet named Breakfast. The officer said the pig had apparently escaped by going under a fence. Neighbors said the officer eventually captured the pig and took it home. Buffalo does not have any city laws expressly prohibiting ownership of pigs or other farm animals inside the city. Breakfast was not the only wayward pig captured in recent weeks. Winking Acres Farm Rescue and Sanctuary in Brownsburg, Indiana, recently wrangled a pig that had been on the loose in Indianapolis's Holiday Park for several days and had managed to give rescuers the slip during the multiple capture attempts. The sanctuary said the pig will be quarantined, vaccinated, and neutered before the next steps for the animal are determined. Neutered? What are there other loose pigs in the area getting you're getting loose too? You don't want to knock up the other pigs? I've been wanting to do this story all day. Let's just say it's been baking in my brain. I'll see myself out. That's it. That's all you get. That's all the yeah. Pig on big crime. They are smart. Pigs are very smart. And that guy was smart to get away from that cop. I'll tell you that for nothing. Breakfast. If somebody called me breakfast, like, motherfucker, you ain't gonna eat me. No, sir. No, sir. I don't like it at all. So join us tomorrow for the Undercurrent. That's gonna be 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and Instagram. And this show will be back on Friday, same time, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Mountain, 8 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube, Rumble, and the Book of Faces. It's been good knowing you. I'll smell you later. See you tomorrow. Come see me and Auntie Laine. We'll have some good news you can use for you. So hopefully you can use it. And check out our mutual aid links down below too. Like I said, if you can't donate, please share out the links. Every little bit helps. Other than that, I say peace, and chicken grease. We'll see you on Friday. Peace.
This is City Alpha 5. Woo!
soon.